Hey everybody, welcome here to Pop Culture Philosophers. I am Rockin' Robbie Billups, and tonight we are celebrating the end of Action Fest 2020 with a look at all 5 Jason Bourne movies: Bourne Identity, Bourne Supremacy, Bourne Ultimatum, Bourne Legacy, and Jason Bourne. With me tonight we have Mike, the Voice Matthews.
Hey everybody, how's it going tonight?
Going swell. And we also have the Micromaster Mutant Machine himself. It's Marooks.
Did you say Marooks?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
What's up, buddy?
Weird stretch.
What's up?
It is a weird stretch.
Robbie.
Pop, pop.
1, 2.
So we are going to be talking about the Jason Bourne movies, and you out there in the chats, feel free to join into the discussion as well. And let's just kick it right off. Jason Bourne is a character that first appeared in 1980, I believe, in the Robert Ludlum book, Bourne Identity. Robert Ludlum did 3 of these books. These 3 all got turned into movies. After the success of the first film, after Ludlum had passed away, they brought in some other writers, and they pretty much almost has been a new Bourne book almost every single year. Like, there's a lot. It went from a 3-piece, what do they call that? A trilogy. It went from a trilogy to an entire damn saga. But we're going to talk about it. In 2002, that's when the Bourne Identity came out, directed by Doug Liman, who did Swingers, he did Go, and he's done other action films, very successful action films, including Edge of Tomorrow, which we just covered a couple of weeks ago. So I absolutely love the Bourne franchise. I had never seen Legacy or Jason Bourne until this week, so I have thoughts about that. But I do think that the first 3 are pretty much a perfect action spy franchise. I freaking love the Bourne movie. So let's start with the Bourne Identity. I love this film. I think it's great. I had never read the book or anything. When I first watched it, it blew me away. I know people were upset about Matt Damon playing Jason Bourne, but he does a hell of a job. A great cast, a great style to it. Doug Liman starts the style in the first film that Greengrass and Gilroy kind of continue on throughout the entire franchise. And I think it's great. It's got a little bit of shaky cam. It's very quickly paced and edited. It's very smart. It's very fast. I watch these movies with the subtitles on, so I don't miss anything whatsoever. But I absolutely love the Bourne Identity, and it did not disappoint me on the rewatch. I love the idea that he's the super badass spy, but at this point, we don't know this yet. We're just discovering who he is, as he is himself throughout the movie. It's got a great pace, great cast, great music, and of course, it starts the idea that they end each single movie with Moby's extreme ways. Mike, what did you think about the franchise overall, and then Bourne Identity in particular?
If you go back and watch, they change extreme ways. Like, it's the first original version, and then it's remixed.
Yeah, there's like subtle changes down the line.
Yeah. So each one is slightly different. As the franchise as a whole, I really enjoyed it. I never read the books. My dad did. So when the movies came out, he was really excited to see them. So that was one of the things, kind of like with James Bond. That's what we wanted to do and watch it. So I really like them. I really like Bourne Legacy. We talked about this earlier in the week. We're just shooting shit, but it was cool because I really wanted to see more Bourne Legacy. So hopefully we'll get that. But it's enjoyable all together. It's I had seen all of these already, so just like the Mission Impossibles, I really enjoy them. So whatever they do next, like I'm hoping that they're doing either Jeremy Renner or Matt Damon. I could take either one.
All right, so what do you think about Bourne Identity?
That's probably my favorite one out of all of them, because it's just the introduction story. It's just kind of like, oh, what's going on? Like, who's this dude in the water? He doesn't know who he is. He gets to the embassy, and it's just like, oh man, and then I got a plan. And then everything starts remembering when he's with the cops, when he's sleeping on the bench, and they come up and they start hassling him, and he just catches the nightstick, and it's just like, oh wow, I can do stuff, like I can speak Russian. So it was it was great paced. All the characters were great. I can't remember what's her face right now.
Marie.
Marie, yeah. So that was a nice little fun back and forth, and slowly build their romance around it to give him something else other than the action. But in the action's on point. I love the fact that he's in that just. Is it a mini? I don't know. I have to go back and look what it is. But he's just in that. It's the line. It's just like you check your car and do maintenance. Your tires feel a little squishy, or well, he says something like that, and then it's just that chase, and it's like it just sets the tone for how these movies are and what you can expect. Awesome fight. The one jump scare in the whole entire movie. I hadn't seen this movie in probably like 2-3 years, and the same jump scare gets me every time. So when the guy comes through the glass,
Yeah.
and it's a shootout in that little apartment. Like I know it's coming, I know it's there, and it's a jump scare, and it gets me every time.
Yeah, I really like the Bourne Identity, and one of the things you were mentioning was the cars. They are real cars. They're not like it's not like in a Mission Impossible movie or a James Bond movie where it's some kind of unattainable car. This is literally just a car on the street. And I like that the first films, especially until Ultimatum, when they bring it into America a little bit, they all are kind of Eurocentric, right? They're all based in cities in Europe. And so you got these like historic buildings, and you got these narrow streets, and you got these tiny cars, and it's akin to something like the car chases in like Italian Job, you know?
Yeah.
But Bourne really I love it. I know that there are movies that have bigger, grander stunts, more crazy things, but I don't think you'll find an action spy thriller series that's as sleek, as sophisticated, and as stylish as the Bourne films, and it's something I absolutely love. Speaking of style, Brooks, what do you think about the franchise overall and Identity in particular?
Well, I think this is a really solid franchise. Like, I wouldn't say there's really a bad movie in the bunch, and I think I like the first one a lot because it sets up the character of Jason Bourne. Like, I see Jason Bourne as Captain America if he had Wolverine's backstory. He's like this guy. He can do just about anything, but he doesn't remember how or why. And like, I like it. He's trying to find his identity and learning, what kind of a person he was, and like, he's gonna have to deal with the guilt of like all the people he's probably killed over the time that he spent in this weird CIA program. And the villains in this movie are always higher ups trying to cover their asses. Like, it's always a guy behind the desk who's actually who's running like, the Jason Bourne pursuit or whatever.
Yeah.
It's always just trying to cover his own ass.
How many times in these movies too do you see one of those guys go, Jesus Christ, it's Jason Bourne.
It's Jason Bourne. Shit.
He's like a
God,
boogeyman.
Bourne.
He's like a boogeyman, And that's a great point too, is that I like the idea that this dude is like a cold-blooded super spy assassin, right? That's what he is, okay? But because he winds up with amnesia, and he doesn't really remember, but he still has these skill sets. And I love how the skills start coming back to him. And in that first film, it's all about discovery. Now, from that point forward, he's just like super badass, and he's like zeroed in. Like when Supremacy starts, he's like super paranoid spy, right, on the run. But I love the discovery there, and I love the idea that since he doesn't, and we find out later on that he did in fact volunteer for this program. It wasn't like they nefariously trapped him into it or anything like that. But I love the idea that he rejects that life, and he doesn't want to do that anymore. And I don't think it's a coincidence that his name that he kind of settles on, because it's not his real name, but it's Jason Bourne. It's kind of like a rebirth that he experiences in this movie, and it starts with him in water. And I think it's very, very appropriate. Now, Ludlum apparently came up with the idea because after he had finished his first novel or something, he wound up having like a short-term amnesiac period where he couldn't remember like a chunk of 12 hours or something like that. And that kind of gave him the idea to go forward with this. The movies are sleek, they're stylish, they're cool. Like Brooks mentioned too, the villains are amazing, and they keep getting better. these movies all have incredible cast additions in each single one. Like in the first one, yeah, Matt Damon, that's dope. But you got Clive Owen in a very, very small role, but very important role. You got Chris Cooper as the guy who's kind of doing the main, the main head of the manhunt. But then you got Brian Cox, the higher up of Treadstone. Why? That's the program, right? And then they just build from that, and they just keep getting better. And they're just trying to cover their own ass because they're going to get found out for doing all this shady shit, through the CIA, through the Treadstone program. And then we ultimately find out as each movie progresses, it keeps unpacking itself. It's not just Treadstone. Treadstone is just a part of a whole bunch of different programs and this and that, and whatever. But it lives and dies with Matt Damon's performance. I think Matt Damon did such a great job for someone who was not seen as an action star whatsoever at this point. I mean, Good Will Hunting. He's the kid from, was it Legends of Bagger Vance? You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not an action star. And man, he played that role so effectively, so convincingly, and physically absolutely nailed it. What do you think about Matt Damon as Jason Bourne in Identity, Mike?
I think he's great. It's one of those, like, I can see it. I go, okay. Like, I know he's got the acting ability to do it. And we've seen him in some drama stuff, and it's just one of those, like, okay, like, I'll give him a chance. Like, he had a better, like, more people were accepting of him than they were of Ben Affleck as Batman. So, and it's just, but you remember, like, oh, Ben Affleck can't play Batman. But, like, I don't remember anybody saying that about Jason Bourne. Even, like, when Tom Cruise with the Mission Impossible movies, like, everybody was like, oh, it's like, oh, cool. So it was just, it seemed like everybody accepted it. I thought he did a great job. Kind of the lost memory, fish out of water, just everything coming back to him. I think he played that really great, and it was just interesting to see.
There were people in the early 2000s, especially people that were fans of the book, and the book had been adapted into a TV movie like in '88 or something like that. But there were people that were, the book series has a big following, and there were people that just didn't see him as Jason Bourne because he's supposed to be this like stone cold killer, and he's the kid from Good Will Hunting and Dogma, and they just couldn't, nobody was willing to really give him too much of a shot. It wasn't quite like it is today. The internet was obviously around in 2000 and 2002, but it wasn't quite so obnoxious at times, I guess is the right thing.
It wasn't as populated back then.
Yeah, that's definitely one too. And if people are still kind of like, I don't know, but it just seems like this is what happens when any actor tries to transition from a drama or a comedic actor into an action role. You got a lot of people that just won't buy it at first, won't get into it. Like they just can't be sold on it. But
well, like the only person that I remember reading the book other than my dad was Pimp. And like, that's when him and Andy were living together. So Andy was all like, okay, cool. Like, this is going to be awesome. And then, Pimp read the book, but he was just like, we'll see. So like, those were like my dad, who's like, yeah, I really want to see this. And Pimp, or that's just the two. Like, oh, okay. So that's what I was going on.
Absolutely. Brooks, what do you think about Matt Damon in the role?
I think he did it good. He had that, like in the first one, he had the kind of confusion, but he has those instinctive movements. It looked like he was, just reacting instinctively because he would also have that expression like what's going on at the same time. And throughout the series, he gets when he's past all that and he knows who he is, kind of. I think he pulls off the kind of stoic, like, but also paranoid kind of way that this guy is, because like this guy's always looking at everything. Like his brain is always analyzing like what's like who's this, what's that, like all these kind of moves that he can make. And I think that's probably the most interesting thing about Jason Bourne is that he's just so far ahead of everybody who's against him. Like he's very rarely put up against a wall in any of these movies. He's always kind of just moving and he knows where he's going. And like nobody can touch him,
Oh, and he's great at improvising, right?
Well, I like how he said he put up, nobody can get him when his back is up against the wall. And that scene in the embassy where he runs out the door and it's just nothing, and he just scales down the building, just hanging on to the ledge. And so I found that funny, Brooks. Thanks.
Yeah, really good stuff. Maria, or is it Marie or Maria? What is it? It is Marie. Franca Potente. Probably butchered that. Anyway, I love her in the movie. She's totally believable. A lot of times in these action films, you're like, oh, here's a forced in love interest, a romantic story that they feel they have to do. This one felt organic. It felt natural. She's literally the only person that he knows. I love that scene when she's like, I'll never see you. You'll just leave. And he's like, how would I forget you? You're the only person I know. And they build this relationship through their experience, and I believe it. And it's not done in like your typical kind of like Bond girl type style. She's a very essential part of the story, and they run with it from that. She had a great chemistry with Matt Damon. I thought it was an absolutely fantastic and believable and appropriate love story for this movie that I don't feel like they like made a point of putting too much into it, like making it so obvious, but it is obviously the thread of that movie. You know what I'm saying? Is he's rediscovering this life and this new version of himself, and she's a big help for that. What do you think about her in the movie and her role, Mike?
Well, she was in whatchamacallit, Run
Lola Run, yeah.
So she's already kind of had this action adventure thriller kind of background. So I thought she nailed the role. Like it was it's one of those like they brought in a good lead, somebody was in a chase film, and this is them being chased. So I thought they pretty much nailed it with her character.
Yeah.
I do like the way that everything builds organically and naturally, and just it's not forced upon us. And it's very, very subtle, and it's one of those like, and he's like, well, you know, at the end when he shows back up at the beach, at the beach shack, and so it's just one of those, and it's great too because like everything that you know, like a little bit about her past, and then you like, is this the you get to the farmhouse, and it's just like, oh, what did she do? And he's like, nah, it's me, it's not her. Like, you know that she's like, even in this scene from the embassy and that, like, you can see that she has a troubled past, and she's trying to work on herself, and she's trying to work through something, or she's running from something, and she doesn't have like, as lost as he is, she finds stability and something in him, like, so it's something like that.
Absolutely. What do you think, Brooks?
I thought she did good. Like she's, you know, in the beginning she's kind of a necessity for him. He needs a ride, and she's there. So like, you know, that's what he does. He's like, here, take us. I'll give you all this money if you just drive me, you know, to Paris. And at that point, he isn't really concerned about putting her in danger or anything like that, because, you know, he just met her. But as it goes along, he starts to get a little more, you know, he starts to think a little more like, you know, she is in danger by being close to me. But at the same time, like him not being there probably wouldn't take her out of that danger. So it's like, you might as well stick together, you know. And they kind of they're helping each other. You know, she's had a kind of messed up life, and, you know, I think she needs him kind of in her own way too, despite how, you know, chaotic all of his troubles are. So yeah,
absolutely. The villains are allegedly the good guys. You know what I'm saying? And one of my favorite things about this franchise is the idea of, and this is something that even when we have conversations, you know, personally, like, what is the line? What's your line of acceptance of how far you would allow people to go to protect the country and the country's interests? And how does that get tied into so many other things and layers, right? But Chris Cooper as like the main guy, absolutely amazing. Brian Cox, I mean, come on. That's the original Hannibal Lecter to me. You know what I'm saying? And then you even have Clive Owen in that tiny, tiny role. And one of my favorite bits of this whole movie, and I love how it comes full circle in Jason Bourne, but when Matt Damon has to shoot that assassin that's sent after him, and it's Clive Owen, and he just looks at him and he's like, look at us. Look at how much they make you give, or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. And then in the final film, Jason Bourne repeats that line. And it's true, and I like it. And I like that a lot. The villains are amazing. They're incredibly captivating. Everything that goes on when Jason Bourne's not on the screen, well, like when they pop in, it doesn't get boring. It stays like intense, and the pace and the speed of all the villain stuff. And it's weird to call them villains, but they're the antagonists, right? But when you get to all the CIA stuff, like it's just as exciting, even though it's just people freaking talking back and forth. It's as exciting as the car chases and things like that. What do you think about that side of it, Mike?
First off, I want to say that the Wombosi, that was Echo from Lost.
Yes, it was. And Adebisi from Oz.
So it was like, wait a minute, I know this guy, so I had to look it up, and it's like, yeah, it was Echo. So, and I did not realize that he was in this. So, and he had a small role in it as a villain, and it was just funny that Matt Damon's like, oh, I'm gonna go talk to this guy, like he's trying to kill you. I think Chris Cooper did an excellent job. It makes me think that they're just trying to hide him, and Brian Cox are trying more to hide more in Supremacy, where they talk about the money, but like these dudes are not up and up, like they are. It's like he's gonna leak us, but it's like they don't want to get in trouble, but it's like it's a heist, like all the money, like that's what they're more hiding than the Treadstone and Blackbriar program. So, but Brian Cox what a super dick, especially at the end. He's just, I'm gonna tie up all the loose ends, and it's just like he's taking care of it. And it's the asset at the end is talking to Brian Cox is talking to him. So it's just like, oh, you think he's going after Bourne, but no, it's Cooper right there. So it's just, and Chris did a great job at that. It's just great assholes.
Their relationship is great in that bit too, especially when he's like, just a little bits where he's like, we're going to take care of this. I told you to clean it up. We're going to clean it up. And like the dialogue is just so snappy and back and forth. Yep. I love it.
And then it was great to see Clive Owen as a professor. So that's a small role. And there was a lot of, and then I can't really remember what Clive Owen did before this, but a lot of that was a kind of an introduction to a lot of people for Clive Owen.
Well, he had done, I guess Sin City hadn't come out yet, right?
Right.
But he had done that movie. I saw him in that movie. Was it Croupier or whatever, where he's like the casino guy? Like that's a really good film. And that was the first time I remember really seeing him. Croupier. He's like, it's the person who sits at the card tables and looks out for cheaters and suspicious activity or something like that, because he's a card counter too or something. If you've never seen it, it's actually really, really cool.
He's not a cooler. He's because that's when you get a hot table and you pretty much slow the pace down.
Yeah.
Money back.
I'll look that up, but
no, I did not. This was my introduction to Clive Owen, so it's one of those like I wasn't sure.
Yeah, it's Croupier. It's a dealer, someone appointed at a gaming table to assist in the conduct of the game, especially in the distribution of bets and payouts. They're typically employed by casinos, and they're looking out, like in the movies, looking out for suspicious behavior, but whatever. Anyway, he's a great actor. He does a great job in this. It's a very small role, but he handles it. You know what I'm saying? So what about you, Brooks? What do you think about the antagonists in the film?
I think they're all good villains in their way. It does seem kind of like they're rehashing a lot of the same plots most of the time, but and a lot of times in like these kind of spy movies, like stuff like the kind of the behind the scenes type spy work stuff is where it kind of loses me. But I think these movies did a pretty good job of making it interesting. I liked like in the second movie on, I like Joan Allen's character arc.
Yes,
like how she was she wasn't too sure, like she knew something was going on, like she knew that there was some shady stuff going on, but she couldn't get to Jason Bourne because the people that she's going after are her superiors. And it's a lot of that like kind of twisty turny stuff that can kind of lose me sometimes in a movie like this.
Yeah,
but I didn't really. I mean, at times I kind of did, but for the most part, I could generally, I knew what was going on.
And with you talking about Joan Allen, it's like in every movie they add somebody else, like just an incredibly high caliber actor. You know, it goes from Brian Cox and Chris Cooper to Joan Allen to, oh my goodness, I can't remember the dude's name, from Good Night, Good Luck, and from 8 Men Out, but he's the guy that's in Ultimatum with Joan Allen, and then they bring in Ed Norton, and then they bring in Tommy Lee Jones. Like, it just keeps getting, like, amazing. It's like that first Superman film where it's like everybody around the main character is actually some of the most accomplished professional actors out there in the industry, you know? What do you think about the style of this film, the action scenes, the way it's cut together? Doug Liman sometimes gets critiqued for using shaky cam or handy cam or anything, you know, like hand cam's different than shaky cam. I think this is more like hand oriented, but he kind of gets lumped into all that with him. Also, Tony Gilroy wrote this film with William Blake Herron, and Tony Gilroy, I think, pretty much wrote the script for almost every single one of these, or at least was involved in it. I love the style. I love the color palette. It's so sleek. It's cool. It's got a lot of blues to it. It's a very cool film, not just visually, but also just it's dynamic. The sound editing is there. It helps those quick cuts really work together. And we live in an age where they don't hold the camera too long, but in a Bourne movie, I don't want them to. Like, yeah, I like less than a second pretty much like what they're going to be doing. Like, it's very quickly cut, and I love it. It makes it feel real. It makes it feel like it's a documentary style type thing. And with the addition of like real cars and brutal fights and up close shots, it just makes it feel incredibly real and not quite polished, but at the same time being one of the most polished action franchises I can think of. What do you think, Mike, about the style, the overall style?
Real quick though, we left out a big character, and that's the Julia Stiles character for Nikki Parsons. So that was
a very small role in this film, but she has a larger role over the whole course. But
right.
Yeah, Julia Stiles is in the movie. You're right, Mike.
But
what do you think about the style of the film? Not the styles, the style.
I liked it. It's one of those. It reminded like the Luc Besson, like The Professional, and crap, I can't remember the other movie. But the up close fighting, it's not wide out. It's not dynamic. It's like we're fighting in a 3-foot room, and like you're using everything. It's like room to room to room to room, and you have to use like the steady cam as best as you can or handheld to get a lot of that action. Even with the car scenes, it's just that it's kind of what you have to do to get it done. So I like it. I enjoyed it. The effects, I really didn't pay attention to that much. I took this more back and went back and listened to watch the story. But it was the pacing was great, and I kind of felt like I dropped the ball on that one.
What do you think, Brooks, about the overall style of the film?
I think it really works, you know, for these movies. It's kind of a muted, you know, very realistic type of style. Like, you know, it's not you believe this world, you know, you believe in this world, you know. It seems like a very possible, like, you know, and that's kind of what the thing is. Like, this is a story about, you know, CIA stuff, like, you know, the kind of secrets that could be, you know, going on right under your nose and you wouldn't even know about it, you know, espionage and all that. I think it works really well for us, and also as, you know, kind of like the humanity of the character too, you know.
Yeah.
Like, despite like everything that's happened to him, you know, he's finding his humanity again. Yeah.
Maybe even for the first time.
Yeah.
Right? You know?
Like, and he's kind of like, you know, is he going to, you know, go back to his old ways? Is he going to try to go back in and, you know, start doing that stuff again? Or is he going to try and, you know, forge his own path and be a new person? You know?
Yeah. That's one of my favorite things about the first film in particular, is that the character building is so dynamic and so well thought out and meticulously paced. And I think that out of all of the films, this is the one that says the most. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, thematically, I think it says the most about this dude. Like, and then I thought, like, at any moment he's going to like maybe regain all of his memories, and will he be that guy again? And the idea of that you could shift, you could be a different person if you wanted to. What's the damn song from who did that? Oh my God, I can't remember who did All For You. Hard to say what it is I see.
Sister Hazel.
Sister Hazel. They have a song that says, if you want to be somebody else, change your mind. And I mean, they should have used that song in here, you know? But, and I love the music. The music is something that really helps out. It's got that kind of like techno-y kind of feel to it, you know, throughout, but it's also got some great score work in it as well. So I think thematically it's one of the most relevant films out of the entire franchise. And I love this film. So out of 5 possible you digs, what do you give the Bourne Identity, Mike?
I will give it 4 you digs. It's good, but it's not great. It's an action movie. Like I said, you can. Apparently, I missed all the styles and everything else. But the characters are good. I liked everything about it. So,
but you remember the Julia Stiles, and we did kind of overlook her, and she is in the film. She got a small role. I think it gets developed a lot more fully as the series goes. But she does a fine job in the movie too. She just doesn't have too much to do. So 4 is a very good, solid score. What about you, Brooks? Out of 5 possible you digs, and you out there in the chat, let us know out of 5 possible you digs, what do you give the Bourne Identity, Brooks?
Yeah, I'd give it a 4 too. It's a good movie. It's I have some problems with it, but you know, overall, it's a good action movie. I wouldn't say it'd be one that I would I'd probably have to be in the right mood to watch it again. But it's not a movie I'd be like, nah, I don't. I'd say I'd never want to watch. You know.
Yeah. Okay. 4 and 4. I'm going 4.5. I think I'm more of a fan of the overall series than probably you two. I love this damn series. Those first 3 movies in particular, I just love. And to me, it all starts with the Bourne Identity. This has got the best character work out of the entire franchise, in my opinion. It starts the sleek, cool, sophisticated, smart style that's prevalent throughout pretty much the entire series. I love the performances from everybody, from the smallest roles to the largest. And I think they just nailed it. No wonder they did a sequel. So 4.5 from me, but 4 from Mike and 4 from Brooks. And it seems like most everybody out there in the Army is right along with you. Comic Book Therapy says 4 you digs. He also says the car scenes in all the movies are intense.
Yeah, I love the car chases and motorcycle chases in these movies.
Absolutely. Easy Reader says 4 you dig. So seems like 4 is good. I'm such a damn fan of this series that for me, 4.5. I'm just slightly a little bit more than you guys, but not too much. But it was a popular film. It made a lot of money and it caught on. It made Matt Damon a bona fide action star. And definitely just a few years later in 2004, that's 2 years later, they did the Bourne Supremacy, the second book in the series. Now in the Bourne Supremacy, now we have Marie and Jason are living a relatively happy life somewhere where they're like in Thailand or something like that. Or India. I don't remember. I don't know exactly where they are. And then of course, how does it all get started? Man, I watched all of these so quickly. Is this the one
Russians.
Where the Russians, yeah, they think they set Bourne up, right? They set Bourne up. That flags Joan Allen and her division. And they're like, oh, then somebody goes, Jesus Christ, it's Jason Bourne. and then it sets up a whole new thing. And then the Russians are the ones that send Carl Urban after Jason, and he winds up killing Marie. And in other movies, I'd be like, okay, so you killed a woman to be the motivating factor, but it works for me in this one. In such a sad freaking scene, and it happens in the water, and that's a parallel with him. The first image we ever see of Bourne in the Bourne Identity is him drowning in the water before he gets found, and then the way it happens with her in the water and the kiss, and oh my God, it breaks my heart. And then it just sets him off and it becomes a revenge film. And then you understand why, from this point forward, why whenever somebody sees him, they go, Jesus Christ, it's Jason Bourne. And they like literally shit themselves because he is badass. Now there is a James Bond film that's a revenge flick basically, and that's License to Kill. It's pretty much just a revenge flick. That ain't got shit on Bourne Supremacy. I love this movie. Paul Greengrass came in. Doug Liman was still producing, but Paul Greengrass came in and to me actually kind of starts perfecting that style and tone of Bourne, taking everything that was established in the first film and blazing it forward. I love the Bourne Supremacy, and it's one of those rare sequels that's just as good to me, if not slightly better than the original. Doesn't have as much character work because it's more about the revenge aspect of it. But I absolutely love it. What do you think overall about Bourne Supremacy, Mike?
This is probably I know I said the last one's my favorite, but out of the whole, like, this is the one that really gets me. You pretty much nailed it and everything. The whole movie starts was because Joan Allen's crew is investigating the Russian because it has to do with the what's his face, the Chris Cooper, what's the guy from the first one?
Chris Cooper's character?
Yeah, it's his character. It was like something to do with his character, and it's the money.
Yeah, because he's like doing things under the table and things like that, right? Jason's
first mission was to kill this one guy, and essentially, when they killed the guy, Chris Cooper and everybody took his money, millions, and then that was the whole thing with Brian Cox. In this one, it was like he was in league with the Russians. Like, we made a deal, like, go here, like, here's everything on Bourne, just go kill Bourne, pin it on Bourne, and it'll be done. It's just that the assassin failed and didn't kill Bourne. So it was, like I said, it was just a heist gone bad. And Pamela's group just happened to stumble upon this because they're still investigating the murder that Jason Bourne did those years ago. So
gotcha.
Like this one is just so much of this one, and I feel bad for Marie in this because it's just like we're blown, like we got to go, and she's like, I don't want to leave. But then she's like, okay, fine. And then they're running, and everything's planned out to the T. And Carl Urban just in that water, and she's in the water, and he just lets her go, and she just floats off. Like, that hits you in the feels.
Yeah, it does, really does.
But then it's just, and then the whole rest of the way is great because Carl, like, he doesn't care. Like that in Ultimatum. No, or is it Ultimatum or Bourne, when he asked the guy, like, why do we do this? Like, Carl Urban, he doesn't even care. It's just like, I'm killing you. I don't care.
It's just a job.
Yeah. And then I really hate the way that Brian Cox goes out like such a bitch.
Well, I think it's appropriate for the character's arc. I do, but
I mean, it is, but like you kind of like, it's one of those, like, I really wish that Jason Bourne, like, got his hands on him, but instead he took it's like, nope, like, I'm taking the easy way out. I'm not going to jail, and Bourne's not killing me. So it's just kind of one of those, like, it's just a little let down.
I love that Brian Cox comes back, and he had a great dynamic with Chris Cooper in the first one, but the dynamic with Joan Allen's character of Landy is even better to me because it's more adversarial. Like, she's just trying to get her job done, trying to find the truth about this situation. He's trying to cover his own ass. He just wants Jason to be killed. And they have a really great back and forth. I love that first meeting they have when he's like, I think it's a little bit above your pay grade, don't you think? And then she's like, blah, 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 blah. And it's just a great dynamic there.
No, like, it goes on, it gets sweatier and sweatier.
Yeah.
And she's looking over here like, this guy's feeling some pressure here.
She's one. Joan Allen is crap. What is her name?
In the movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, Pamela Landy.
Pamela Landy. Yeah, that's one of my favorite characters in this series. Because it's like you want to hate her, but you don't want to hate her because, like, she's not really the villain, but she's pushing. She's on that side to a degree, more in the middle. So
yeah, and I like now it's not quite so cut and dry. You know, now you got those moving parts that are kind of in between, and she's a great representation of that. Brooks, overall, what do you think about Supremacy?
I thought Supremacy was pretty good. I kind of hated it felt like, you know, the female lead from the last movie. I felt she kind of got fridged in the beginning, but it makes sense, you know. It didn't feel like it was just done to, you know, just to get her out of the way. So, and it did, you know, like the motivation, like Jason Bourne needs a reason to go after these guys. And if they both gotten away, you know, that wouldn't have happened. He would have just like, they would have just vanished, and he would have, like, you know, basically gone back to square one, and we wouldn't have had this, you know, cool revenge movie of Jason Bourne showing us, you know, his stuff. So I get it, but it was very sad, you know.
Yeah.
You know, he finally found something to hang on to, and like immediately he loses it.
Well, at least he gets to hold on to it longer than Rambo did.
Yeah. True that.
Yeah, and I think the tragedy informs the character because, you know, his first murder and all that's wrapped up to the end scene of the film where he goes and confesses to the daughter so that she knows the truth about what had happened to her parents, and that's him dealing with the guilt of not just what he did that he doesn't remember, but the guilt that Marie has lost her life now because of him. You know, and like it made him feel probably even foolish. And I can't believe I thought that we would have this life, you know, and God, it's so damn sad. I hate it. Every time I watch the Bourne Supremacy, I just want to like, maybe it's different this time. Maybe she lives and they can just go after them together and blah, blah, blah. And I don't know, man, but yeah, overall, I really like this film. I think it's really strong. Matt Damon's still good in it. And we were talking already a little bit about Joan Allen. Let's continue that a little bit. I am big Joan Allen fan. Have been for a while. I loved her in The Ice Storm. I loved her in The Contender. She is an incredibly accomplished actor. She is so freaking good and such a great addition to the already amazing cast. I love that character. Mike's already elaborated a lot on his love of that character. What do you think about Joan Allen in the film, Brooks?
Well, I liked her character a lot because she's the good intelligence worker, I guess. She has like kind of a loftier standard, which is why, you know, the crooked guy, he's so afraid when, you know, because he has to work next to her, to this, what I guess he would consider an idealist, when, you know, he's obviously very crooked and he knows his crimes are going to catch up to him, and he knows like if she finds out about him, that she'll just throw him under the bus immediately because, you know, he deserves it. And I like that she's willing to give Jason Bourne the benefit of the doubt. Like, you know, she looks at what he's doing and how he's acting, and she thinks, well, maybe we don't need to put him down, you know. Maybe we can just, you know, just let Jason Bourne be, you know, or at least offer to, you know, to let him come back in. You know, like she doesn't want to kill Jason Bourne unless, you know, it's absolutely necessary.
Yeah. And she is definitely very wary of Brian Cox's insistence on him dying. You know, and I remember when the turn happens and you find out that Brian Cox is like more nefarious, like I remember kind of falling for that and being like, wow, whoa. Like, and it kind of blew me away. And I really liked it. It keeps up that pace. It keeps up that flow of the action. It's very, very intense. It's straight up just a thrilling experience. Great chase scenes again. That first chase scene where they're being chased through that village by Carl Urban is intense. And they're going through these crazy streets and you're just like, oh my goodness, this is absolutely amazing. So I think it's great. Any more thoughts on the Landy character, Mike?
She pays attention to what Jason Bourne does. She's watching, like Brooks said, she's watching his actions and what he does, and she makes that complete 180. Like she's fully trusts him when she gets the takes of everything that's said. So it's just like she knows he's still a patriot and he's trying to do the right thing. So I don't know. There's more to talk about her in the next two movies. So it's gonna be a Landy fest. So
a Landy fest.
Yeah, she's like the next Ultimatum. She's great, and then even in the minor role that she has in Legacy, it's still just oof. But I guess the end scene where Jason just says, "You look tired, Pam. Get some rest."
Oh my goodness!
And he's just like,
like letting her know that he's watching her.
Yeah, that it's like he can see, and then crap. No, it's in Jason Bourne where he makes the comment about being in somebody's office.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. That's a great line too when he's in there. He's like, I highly doubt that, because if you were, we'd be having this conversation in person.
Yeah.
But he gets a lot of good one-liners in like that. So.
That's an ultimatum.
It's an ultimatum,
yeah. That's an ultimatum because it's the other dude whose name escapes me, but I'll find out pretty shortly.
I always think it's the guy from Law and Order, but it's not him.
No, it's the guy from he's in Good Night, Good Luck. He's in 8 Men Out. He's a great actor.
I thought it was the guy from the other show too, that Newsroom, but it wasn't.
You keep saying no, not at all. Sam, you tell us, yeah, no, not at all.
But it's David Strahan. Strahan.
Yeah, you thought that's Sam
Strahan.
Waterston, right?
Yeah, I was getting confused there for a second.
Yeah, that's funny.
So.
I think he's just a little bit younger than Sam is, but Julia Stiles has a little bit more to do in this film. What do you think about Julia Stiles, the Parsons character, Mike?
It's great that they bring her like, hey, like we're still going to do this and we're going to bring you in and you're going to be doing this, and she's like, but I'm just an analyst, like I'm not supposed to be doing all this. So, and I think she starts to trust Jason a little bit more and noticing things too. So it's a slowly build up of that character. So, and it was fun to see her just kind of, she had more of a bigger role than she did in the last one, other than being like somebody on the phone and talking to the assets.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely. What about you, Brooks? What do you think about the Parsons character?
I like this character. I like Julia Stiles. I'm not, I can't recall many movies that I've seen her in. Like she was in 10 Things I Hate About You, right?
That's all that matters, really.
Like, yeah, that's the only movie I can really think of that she was in that I've seen. But
she's in the modern Hamlet remake with Ethan Hawke. I think that's one of my favorite movies with her. One of my favorite performances from her. If you've never seen it, it's like you remember they did the modernized Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
I didn't really like that, but I'm not the biggest Romeo and Juliet fan. I'm much more of a Hamlet dude, but I have this on DVD. I can let you borrow it, Brooks, but it's Hamlet, but it's done in the modern day. Like Denmark is a corporation, right? And Kyle MacLachlan plays Hamlet's uncle. Bill Murray's in it. He plays Laertes' father, and Laertes, I think, is Liev Schreiber. Like it's a really good film, in my opinion.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, that and the Kenneth Branagh, that's the only Hamlet you really need to watch. Screw the Mel Gibson one. That one's weird.
It's that moment.
But yeah, I like Julia Stiles. I guess the only way I can describe is I think she has a good face. I just like her face.
I think we found one of your celebrity crushes, Brooks. But she was in wasn't she in Down to You? That's a movie she was in that I liked. Yeah, Down to You with Freddie Prinze Jr., Rachel Lee Cook.
You love you some Freddie Prinze Jr., don't you?
I do, actually. I don't mind him at all. He's really great in a movie called House of Yes.
Her other was
Oh yeah, that's the Othello.
It's the Othello one, yeah.
Yeah, and then what's the dance movie? She's in that
Save
dance
the Last
movie.
Dance.
Save the Last Dance.
And then she's just got a bunch of she's in Mona Lisa.
And then she had a career because of Bourne for a while.
Yeah.
Like she was just in every Bourne movie, like tiny little role. She's in every single one of them except for Legacy, right? So.
Right.
Yeah. All right. What else then? We talked about Julia Stiles. We talked about Joan Allen. We talked about Brian Cox. We talked about Bourne. Let's talk about Paul Greengrass. Paul Greengrass gets to come in and kind of take what was established by Doug Liman and to me start really perfecting it and crafting it. And to me, Bourne Supremacy is the ultimate stepping stone in getting to the next film. Like, I think these movies kind of just, it's like you take Bourne Identity establishes everything. Bourne Supremacy starts perfecting the craft associated with this story. And then in Ultimatum, I think it kind of releases in its ultimate form in just a slight way. But I love the action scenes. I love the fighting, the chase scenes, all that stuff. It's great. It's a thrilling movie to watch and experience. And once again, it's got that documentary style that makes it feel real and in your face. What do you think, Mike, about the style of this film?
I actually dig the style on this one. Paul Greengrass brings a lot to it. And this is one of his early, to get his, this is the film that kind of established him as what he did, even when he went United 93, Green Zone, and Captain Phillips. Like, it all kind of just, it went from there. So, I don't know, it's just, everything was just, the cinematography was big to me, and just a lot of the because everything's moving around, and you have three parts of the story moving around that you're trying to figure out. You've got the Russians, the Pamela, and Jason, and they're all intertwined. And he just does a great job of pacing that, and then just keeping that flow going. So, and then he also brings in the it's not really a car. He has the car chase and a foot chase.
Yes.
And the fighting scene. So it's like, here's our big chase. It's like, oh, they're gonna have a big chase, and it's a foot chase, not a car chase. So it's like, oh, cool. Like he's bringing in different elements to the franchise, and it's like, okay, cool. Like I really like what he's doing right here and doing with this. So
what about you, Brooks? What do you think about the action and the style of this film?
It's
Is it
good,
supreme?
I don't know if I'd go that far, but
Well, maybe with a little bit more tomatoes and sour cream, it would be supreme.
yeah, totally. But yeah, I think probably one of the strengths of this series is how consistent, like a lot of it is. Like, if I didn't know better, I could say that I believe that all these movies were made by like the same guy. You know, none of them feel like they deviate too far from, what Jason Bourne is, and they kind of stick to similar styles. They are different, but only in subtle ways. There's nothing that there's not one of them I think that even like Legacy, I don't think it stands out too much. It still feels like a Bourne movie.
Yes, absolutely does. From Heroes to Icon says, the music sells all the scenes just perfect. And it does. It does. And then Gore Vidal, yeah, the Russian daughter, that is the third film, isn't it? That's at the end of Ultimatum when that happens, right?
yeah,
Or is it in Supremacy? Okay. Supremacy ends with him basically being like, I'm going to fucking find y'all and in this shit, right?
and he's starting. And I think he's starting to remember more about that job.
Yes.
The first job that he did, and it's one of those he's trying to find, because it's his wife. I think that they talk more about in this one, so I'm not 100% sure.
Gotcha.
I have to go back and watch it.
Yeah, and the music, good. And then yet again, the movie ends with Moby, so, I'm a fan of that, right? So out of 5 possible you digs, and you out there in the chat, let us know as well. But Mike, out of 5 possible you digs, what do you give the Bourne Supremacy?
This was the one I give 4.52.
Okay.
So it's the Empire of the trilogy. So it's up there. You get a lot more. You're more in depth. You're more emotionally tied into it. You get more revealed about Jason's past, and you feel for it when Marie dies. So
Absolutely. 4.5, pretty great score there. What about you, Brooks? Out of 5 possible you digs, what do you give the Bourne Supremacy?
I'd give this one a 3.5. I don't think it's I like it a little less than the first one, but it's still a good, solid movie. Still a lot of fun. Got that Jason Bourne action. That's all that you need.
Got that Jason Bourne action. All right. 4.5, 3.5. Mike and Brooks have diverged. And I'm going to give it the same score I gave Bourne Identity, 4.5. I think this movie is just as good as the first one. It doesn't quite have as much character work in it for me, but it does ramp up the nature of the action and the excitement and the pace and the scope. And so now that he's finding out more about himself, now that he's more, locked into this action man zone, it's just starting to like really blossom and throw out there for me. So I'm going 4.5. So 4.5 from me and Mike, and a 3.5 from Brooks. Brooks obviously likes it just a little bit less. From Heroes to Icon says Supremacy gets a 4. So he's right in the middle of all of us. We're giving it a very solid score of a 4 out of 5. Ya digs.
And I know we didn't. Oh, sorry. Go
Fable,
ahead.
what's up, my man? Fable says, never saw the Bourne movie, so I can't vote, but loving the convo, guys. All right. You should watch them, Fable. It's at least the first 3. I think you'd really, really dig. I think they're really good stuff. What were you saying, Mike?
I was going to say, well, Fable, if you want to, you can download the Peacock app, and the first 3 are on the Peacock app for free.
Nice.
for the next 30 days. So that's how I watched them. I could not find my DVDs of this. I think Andy still has them. But the car chase in this one was a Bourne's driving a taxi cab.
That's right. He's like steals it from that dude, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, "Get away from my taxi, man."
So it's just there's your basic little beat up, nothing fancy taxi cab.
Yeah, great stuff. Great stuff. All right, now let's move on to Bourne Ultimatum. Let me find that page so I have all the relevant information. So Bourne Ultimatum came out in 2007. It was yet again directed by Paul Greengrass. It once again was written by Tony Gilroy. This time, though, added with Scott Z. Burns and George Nolfi. It has the addition of David Strathairn, right? That's his name, as Noah Vosen, the CIA deputy director in charge of the new Treadstone Black Ops upgrade called Blackbriar, which they were already setting up in the previous film, right? All three of these films, to me, are one great giant movie, basically, you know? First act, second act, third act. And to me, Bourne Ultimatum blows Identity and Supremacy out of the water. I fucking love this movie. This movie blows me away. The action, holy shit. Car chases, check. Absolutely dynamic and cool fight scenes, check. Foot races, when they're racing across the rooftops, and he's like grabbing like shit on his hands just because he knows that somewhere over there's like broken glass he's gonna have to jump over. And then the scene when he jumps fucking over the alley into the damn window and then he fights that other assassin, that's the best damn fight in the entire franchise, in my opinion. It's brutal, it's real, it's raw. I love the hell out of this movie. I love the addition of Noah Vosen. David Strathairn is absolutely amazing in this film. He's great. You got Joan Allen back, kind of being that opposing force with him. It's sleek, it's cool, and I think that what was established in Identity started getting perfected in Supremacy and was perfected in Bourne Ultimatum. This movie blows me away, and him on the motorcycle, holy shit. I remember after seeing the motorcycle and the rooftop chasing and the fight scenes, I remember looking at everybody back in the day in 2007 when we were watching this, and I said, Matt Damon can play Captain America, because that's the vibe I was getting out of that movie, and I fucking love it. Love this damn movie. What about you, Mike? What do you think about Bourne Ultimatum?
This movie was super, super fun, high energy. I can't believe like this did not get as. I mean, everybody was hyped about this, but I don't remember like everybody being like, "Oh my god, wow!" This was such a fun movie. At first that fight scene you're talking about, when he's running the rooftop scene, where he's running when he wraps the shirts, I thought he was just going to zip tie, like climb down something, but then that glass shows up, and that's just a great scene. Even the whole I can't think what it's when he's guiding the reporter to the train station.
Oh man, that's intense.
It's just like, okay, you're going to do this. Now go now. Okay, stop. And he's like, there's somebody here. There's somebody. He's like, no, be cool. Be cool. Be cool. And he's like, I can't do it. And then runs. And then just takes one to the head. And it's just like, which you see again in Bourne Legacy. But it's so, like this movie just, it brings it. So the car chase and then the whole thing with, even they do it again with Nikki and the assassin, like moving the way through the town, and it's trying to fit like, oh man. And then it's great to see that Nikki's like actually on Jason's side and it's like, hey, I know what you're doing, you're a patriot, like, and Pam has his support. And then just that Noah, just him and Albert Feeney's character,
yes,
like so this one is good.
What do you think, Brooks, about Bourne Ultimatum?
This is a good one because, by this point, Bourne has been pretty much fully established. So it's like, this is just Jason Bourne doing what Jason Bourne does, Like, he just kind of gets caught up in this thing. And then, they find out that, oh my God, it's Jason Bourne. And he's just like, I think they really get into more like just how good he is in this movie. You know how much of his skills involve planning. Like, you know, the way he, like, especially with the whole reporter scene where he's like, he slips the phone in the guy's jacket. Like, where'd he get another phone? And, you know, he's leading them and he's moving them. He's got the crowds moving and all this stuff. And it would have worked if dude hadn't deviated from the Bourne plan.
Yeah. And I love it because then Joan Allen's like, oh, you're taking care of this, huh? Because you just shot this dude in the middle of like this busy ass street and caused all this commotion. And dude, if we thought that Chris Cooper was kind of like dead ass set as well as Brian Cox on taking out Bourne, dude, Strathairn is like freaking locked in, dude. And I love him in this film. And I think he's one of the best antagonists in the entire damn franchise. I believe it. It's great. They always think they have him cornered, but he always surprises them. And yeah, you're right. Once again, in this film, you got a moment where someone just goes, holy shit. It's Jason Bourne. Jason Bourne's here. What are we going to do? It's like Scoob. It's like Shaggy shows up. He's like, what are we going to do?
What are we going to do, guys? Zoinks!
Absolutely. There's a great moment here with Parsons, with the Julia Stiles character. And Chris Stuckman pointed this out in his review for it. And I never put this together. But they allude to the idea that there's some kind of past relationship between Bourne and her. Because there's that scene when he's like talking to her and she's like, she looks at him, she just goes, it was always hard when it came to you. And like, there's just this moment where like Bourne kind of realizes what she's getting at. And then they just kind of leave it. It's incredibly subtle. So even a movie that's like nonstop, this movie starts and never stops, but it still has its subtlety. It still has its nuance with the character. And I think that it's something that it improves on from Bourne Supremacy is that it actually starts putting a little bit more of that nuance back into the film. Even though it's a straight up in your face action film that I adore and freaking love. And it's got a great style. What do you think about the character of Noah? Because I'm a big David Strathairn. I am such a fan of his work. 8 Men Out's one of my favorite baseball movies. I love him in Good Night and Good Luck. If nobody's ever seen that, that's a fan of broadcast journalism. He plays, what was that? Is it, what's the dude's name? Is during the McCarthy era, he was like the CBS news anchor that like stood up against McCarthy. He plays him. It's a black and white film directed by George Clooney. It's a brilliant film. Good Night and Good Luck. You should definitely check it out if you haven't already. Edward Murrow. Yeah, that's right.
Edward Murrow.
Yeah. And what a great actor. I love his performance in this movie. And this is where we get the scene where he calls him and he's like, what are you doing? Because he leads them. He makes them think that he's going to be at this one place. So they go there and he's talking to him. He's like, well, I'm in my office, Jason. And he's like, I highly doubt that, because if that was the case, we'd be having this conversation in person. And there's always a moment in each one of these films too, where he says something like that and everybody just goes, and the camera's like, oh, what? You just got borned. What do you think about the character of Noah in this film, Mike?
What was the crap? What's the one where Jason set off all the fire alarms?
Is
that
was this one, I think, because
I think it's
the crowd's moving. I think when
he's got another one where he's got to meet somebody in a square. He's got to meet the. No, that's Jason Bourne.
Is that Jason Bourne?
That's Jason Bourne that I'm thinking of. So I am wrong. It's another going on to Noah. This dude's a dick. Like you can definitely tell that he's covering up something. He's snarky. The dynamic between Pamela Landy. It's another great one. Like, we're gonna bring you in and like you should have done this, and you're I don't understand why you helping Jason Bourne. Like, he pretty much starts accusing her of helping Jason Bourne, and like, you're the one that's behind this, and he's getting away because of you and whatnot. So
absolutely. What do you think about that character, Brooks?
I thought he was good. You know, this maybe it's because I marathon these movies, but the villain similarities make them all seem to kind of blend together for me some. But I think he comes probably right. He seems to like he's the one who could easily catch Jason, maybe, possibly, or at least he thinks so. But I can't remember. Like, is he like one of the? Is he more tied into the program?
Yeah, he's running Blackbriar, which is the new Treadstone, because they put this big thing out where they basically, because they're part of the other thing is that they're in danger of this program, this covert op being like thrown out into the public. So they publicly shut down Treadstone, but then they open up Blackbriar, which is kind of like the new version of it. And he's running that.
And Noah's in conversation with the other guy, and Feiny. I can't remember his name right now.
From Legacy?
No, in Ultimatum.
Okay.
The one he's like, hey, everything's fine. Like, more and more keeps happening, and then he's just like, hey, no, we're cool. Like, and then he starts worrying about Feiny getting found, and it's the I have to look it up real quick, but it's that middleman. It's the big boss essentially.
Oh, it's the CIA director played by the guy that plays Stick in Daredevil.
Yeah.
It's
one of those, like, he's reporting to him and keeping everything hush hush and keeping his name out of the dirt, and it's just like.
And they're kind of playing Landy because they want to pin all of it on Landy if it goes wrong.
Right. And then and more of that, you get more of that story in Legacy, which is really cool.
Yeah, you do. Let's talk about Albert Feiny. Albert Feiny was the guy who apparently he's like a medical guy, and he's the one that, like, you keep seeing these flashbacks Bourne's having of him being inducted basically into Treadstone. And I just love this cat. I love his voice. And like, I just love him and everything he's in. Like, Big Fish is one of my favorite performances of his. He's also great in Miller's Crossing. So I think he's a great actor, and another great addition, man. They just their casting is impeccable in these films. What do you think about his character, Mike?
Another dick.
Yeah. You're Jason Bourne. It's a terrible impression, but yeah.
But it's that voice that's very calming and seems very rational, but it's also very condescending, and it's like, well, you volunteered for the program, Jason. Like, I didn't do anything to you. You were the one. It was all you. Nothing about me. Just very calm, collected, like he had it planned out. And he's like, go ahead and kill me. And it's just like, nah, because you don't deserve that star at Langley.
Yeah, that's great.
And it was just like, oh. So it's just one of those, like, okay, if you know. And it's which is the one. It's just the one where no. See, they're all.
See, when you watch them all together, like we did, like very quickly, they all start kind of running into one another.
What's the one where Pamela puts the stuff in the fax machine? That's the end of this one.
That's this one, isn't it? Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
Because I was trying to remember, like, she was doing like everybody's doing something, and they all just come to meet up, and eventually it's Bourne and Feiny, and I was like, what was she doing? Because it was something else to do with Stick. But yeah, Feiny was just, it's like, oh, cool, I'll set everything up for you. You volunteered, like, this is all you. And then it's kind of like, it's a good ending for what it was. And then that, it's like, okay, there was Treadstone and now there's Blackbriar, and like that's the program. So now it's about keeping everybody safe and everybody out of legal trouble. So,
what do you think about it, Brooks? What do you think about Albert Feeny's character?
I think it's pretty good. It was nice to have a character that had, like, a personal connection to him before, like to a kind of a link to his past in a way. And like, one thing I noticed about these movies is that Jason Bourne never kills the big bad guy at the end. Like, he's always right there and he can do it, but then he just walks away. I think that's kind of like kind of a testament to his humanity, how he wants to how he wants to put all that behind him, put all the killing behind him. Because like I said, Jason Bourne seems kind of like Captain America with Wolverine's backstory.
Yeah.
It's like he still believes in justice and, you know, and all that. So like he just leaves these scumbags to, you know, deal with their own stuff. Like, you know, he's pretty much blown their stuff wide open, and then he just leaves them to hang themselves, I guess, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, it is. And I love because when they first made this movie and they started marketing it, the tagline was "This summer, Bourne comes home." And this is the first time where Bourne actually steps foot in America again. And another one of those great scenes where they're like, holy shit, Jason Bourne's in New York. And everybody just like freaks the fuck out, man. And it takes this stuff. It's the style of the action and just the settings being very European, even though there are other locales that are used and utilized in the entire franchise. To bring that and make it transfer over into New York, into America, it's absolutely cool. And I think it's the perfect ending of the whole damn thing. And the story comes full circle, and he basically fakes his death. You know, he does that thing. He's like, from now on, Jason Bourne is dead. If you come after me again, like, well, you saw the last movie and you just experienced this one. So you know what I'm capable of. And I love the book ending, how it ends with him in the water. And then he starts swimming to freedom. And then what happens? Bum, 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 bum. And after every single one of these, I let the credits roll until I get to the end of Extreme Ways.
I always listen to it after every movie.
Absolutely.
Gore says, nerds, though, back in the day.
Yeah, Gore says Albert Finney is part of a great British generation of actors like Richard Harris, Peter O'Toole, Terence Stamp. It's another reason the franchise is strong. Good actors, great actors, absolutely. And Bourne Ultimatum is no exception. So you out there in the chat as well, please. Oh, before we get to that, let's real quickly go over some of our favorite. Like, what do you think about the action in this film, Mike? I know we talked a little bit about it, but
the fight between Bourne and Dash, the agent, like that is just, man, that is so good. That's a great chase. Like there's so much about this. So, and it's fun. And even him being in New York, it's very subtle. It's not like it's not big and elaborate like it is in Jason Bourne, the last film.
Yeah.
But it's also, and he still gives the you look tired, Pam, like get some rest line again.
Yep.
And it's just like, whoa, like, what are you doing?
What? He can see us?
Like, where is he? But she doesn't freak out. She's more like, hey, let's talk. Like, and it's just funny that everybody wants to bring him in. Like, that's the end of everything is like they want to bring him in. So even like, are we talking about style and action?
Yeah.
Because
did you forget?
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say like this is. It goes back to the Pamela faxing the report to the newspaper or wherever and blowing everything. Like the dialogue has some great action. Like that's such a crucial part of the film, but it's very subtle. It's just like she's trying to hurry up and do everything. Noah's trying to run to find her, to stop her. And it's just like even subtle little actions like that make this movie great. I think somebody had put it up earlier that the subtlety of this movie is great, and it's whatever and John Wick is just an endless video game. Whoever said that in the comments, like that, I agree with that.
Gore. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So and I know we've already talked about this a lot, but you love the action in this film, right? It's just absolutely fantastic. What about you, Brooks? What do you think about the action, the style of this film?
I think it's probably got some of the best action stuff in it. You know, and these movies are really good about, you know, keeping the pace going so you don't get too bored, you know?
Yeah.
Like, because they move along at a good, steady pace, and, like, you know, the fights are always good and interesting, and the chases are always, I think these movies have some of my favorite car chases and, like, motorcycle chases and stuff. It's just so crazy. Like, he'll go anywhere in a car, and, like, he'll flip cars and like
He survives a lot of car
he'll
wrecks.
drive
in this
cars
movie.
down fucking staircases and shit.
He
Like
went off
Jason
the roof.
Bourne will just fuck up a car and then just keep going.
Is that the one? Is it this one or Supreme? When they say, like, what happened? Where'd he go? It's like he drove the car off the roof.
Yeah. He gets in a lot of wrecks in this film. I was noticing that. I was like, man, I love this film, but I find it almost hard to believe that he survived this shit. Because it's like he's like driving the cars, like, yeah, he drives the car off the roof or whatever, and then like crashes it and then just gets out and starts running. He's got that limp, and Jesus, dude. How the hell did he make it through this film? But because he's Jason Bourne. You just got born. So
It's Jason Bourne.
what? Jesus Christ, it's Jason Bourne. All right, so out of 5 possible you digs, you out there in the chat, let us know, what do you give Bourne Ultimatum? And Mike, what do you give it?
I give this one a 4 or 5 also.
4 or 5 as well.
It's solid. The action's on point. The story is driven so much further. You're so much more invested in it. You're hooked in it. It's the characters that you were like, I don't care about. You care about, especially with like Nikki and Pamela, and then you just like, man, you get the resolution of everything, and the final, and it's David Webb. That's what your name is.
Yeah,
and it's just like, oh, what?
That doesn't sound near
like,
as cool, does it? The Webb Identity,
yeah.
The Webb Supremacy.
But
I like how he's like, David Webb. Fuck it, I'm still Jason Bourne.
Yeah. And then
4.5.
This movie was solid. So that's it.
Okay, that's very, very respectable. What about you, Brooks? Out of 5 possible you digs, and you out there in the chat, join in as well. What do you give Bourne Ultimatum?
I'd give this movie a 4. It's I think it's as good as the first one. Really, it's got a good, satisfying conclusion. Everything gets wrapped up enough. Like there's room for more, but it doesn't feel like it's sequel baiting.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It's the perfect cap to the entire trilogy, and I guess that's why Ludlum left the series alone after the book, Bourne Ultimatum. Because they didn't actually write Bourne Legacy until 2 years after the first film, and Ludlum had already passed. But I think it's the perfect ending. So 4.5 from Mike, 4 from Brooks. For me, I give it a perfect score, 5. This is a damn perfect action movie for me. It's up there. It's up there. It's like Fallout and this. I mean, I can't think of too many more action films of the modern era that are as stylish, sophisticated, and cool as those films. And the Bourne Ultimatum to me is the encapsulation of everything I like about this franchise. The performances, the actors, the story. I love how it's an action film, and this is nonstop, and it's got everything. But as we've alluded to before in the show, even the other side of things, where it's just people at computers and monitors talking back and forth really quickly, that shit is paced like a crazy action film. Like it never stops. It just and it doesn't feel like it's unrelenting, but it's still riveting. It's not like it's too much. Because sometimes you get that too much. We were talking about that Romeo and Juliet movie from the 90s. That movie's too much. Do you know what I'm saying? This movie's not too much.
It's got a good soundtrack though.
It's got an okay soundtrack.
What?
It doesn't have Moby on it.
It's just not ready ahead.
But no, I mean, the garbage song from that movie is really good. But I'm giving it a 5, a perfect score. I think it's the best one out of all of them. I absolutely love it. So out there in the chat, Easy Reader says 4.5 you digs. Gore said, when Marvel began doing their films, I hoped some of them would be like this brilliant trilogy. Black Widow, for example, would have been fantastic if done like this. Like reading an Ed Brubaker story. You're 100% right on that. From Heroes to Icon said, when Bourne told the lady at the end, get some rest. 5. Hell yeah. Perfect score as well. I freaking love this film. And they didn't need to make any more. But they did. So now let's talk about the Bourne Legacy. Bourne Legacy came out in 2012, if I remember correctly. Right?
Yes.
Yes, August 2012. That's the same year that Avengers came out. So when they started coming up with the idea that they wanted to do another one, they had already had the book, Bourne Legacy. Not written by Ludlum, but written by, I can't remember the dude's name. He wrote the majority of those other movies. It's
Ludlum was on there.
Ludlum did not write Bourne Legacy. What is the dude's name? Oh, Van Lustbader. That sounds like a fake name, doesn't it?
Sounds like a porn name.
Yeah, and apparently the actual screenplay bears very little resemblance to the novel, and probably one of the reasons why it doesn't say based on the novel, The Bourne Legacy. It just says based on characters created by Robert Ludlum. So they had a direction of something they wanted to do, and I remember this at the time, but apparently Matt Damon and Paul Greengrass were both just like, no, we're not going to do that. And I never saw this film when it first came out because I thought it was absolutely ridiculous and ludicrous to try to do a Bourne movie without Jason Bourne. Do you know what I'm saying? Cue in Jeremy Renner, everybody's favorite replacement action star. So when we did this on the Mission Impossible night, they brought him in to Mission Impossible to take over the franchise. Then that didn't work out. Well, they bring him into the Bourne franchise to take it over, and it doesn't really work out. This movie didn't really do that well. It was not critically well received at all. This one is actually directed by Tony Gilroy, which I do like the continuation. So I had a bias against this film from the get-go, and I never watched it. And probably why I never watched Jason Bourne either. But that one I always intended to watch. So anyway, after watching Bourne Legacy, I think it's okay. I don't think it's as solid as the first three at all. But I don't think it's a bad film. I think it's okay. I think Jeremy Renner does a great job. It is not action heavy at all. And it is something that really takes you back. It takes you aback from Bourne Ultimatum, which just has this breakneck pace. Legacy is a lot slower. And one thing that's interesting is that the first act of Bourne Legacy takes place during the last act of Bourne Ultimatum. So I liked that connection, but then it kind of slows down for me. And now we're dealing with this other guy who's in another program. That's right, another Black Ops program. I don't even remember what this one was called, but you bring in Ed Norton to this one. So you bring in another great actor. And Ed Norton does a great job with it. Jeremy Renner does a great job with it. Oscar Isaac's randomly in the movie, and I like that scene. Like, some of my favorite parts of this film are Jeremy Renner and Oscar Isaac at that cabin. I could really like that.
That's an intense scene.
Yeah, I like all that stuff, but it starts kind of getting really slow. This is the longest out of all the films. It's like 2 hours and 15 minutes. They could have shaved 20 minutes out of this film. Do you know what I'm saying? And it could have been a little bit more, right? And was it Rachel Weiss is in this film? Yeah. And she does a fine job for what she's doing, but it has some really great moments. It goes up and it goes down, and it's kind of a little bit more inconsistent for me, especially compared to the other three. I do think it's a good film, but it doesn't live up to the previous three. What do you think about Legacy, Mike?
I think Legacy is actually a really good film. It's got a lot of I do like the action early up front, but then it's well paced. It's not overly. I mean, it's still there's a fight scene, there's a chase. It follows everything that they do. I think it's an exceptional film. I think it lives up. I actually watched this movie last. I went 1, 2, 3, 5, and then left this. I've always been told this is kind of a non-canon outside of the movie, so that's the way that I treated it. I did enjoy all the stuff, the CIA side of everything, where you do get what happens to so here's what Pamela Andy did, and now this is her. This is responsible for her actions, and you see the trial, and and you get everything that happened. So it's okay, cool, and then they leave you with thanks for leaving us hanging on that one.
Yeah,
that's my only downside to that is because it's wait a minute, it's almost been we're getting close to 10 years. What happened to this character? What's this character's fate? We need to.
I guess read any of the 15 books that they kept making. I guess. Maybe they deal with it there.
That's one thing that we talked about earlier. I thought this was great. Just I thought it was fun. It was a little confusing towards the end, but like once because I wasn't really paying attention, and I had a photo job to finish up, so I had to actually stop and then go back and watch the end. And I was like, okay, I'm kind of cool with it. They kind of rushed everything along. My biggest thing is like, how did Jeremy Renner find the doctor? Like, how did he know where she lived? Like, did he hack in? It's just kind of like, oh, I'm up in Alaska, and then bam, here I am.
Yeah, I felt like Bourne was more believable at being able to do these things, and Jeremy Renner's character, some of it I believed. You know, they show from the very beginning that he's kind of badass. It's very unnecessary for him to be chased by wolves. Like, maybe he could have cut some of that out, you know?
Well, that whole training ground, like that was kind of fun because he has to fight the wolves to put the tracker into the wolf.
Yeah, so I think that's cool.
So that was cool.
And I like the whole idea that so Edward Norton's the head of Operation Outcome, right? And so when the Jason Bourne finale happens, when Ultimatum happens, basically they're like, oh shit, we're gonna have to stop the program. And the way that they do that is they kill all of their active agents, right? All their assets. And then that's how Jeremy Renner gets involved in it. Plus, he's already lost his meds. And they apparently take meds. And they're starting to get into the idea that they actually take drugs to enhance themselves physically and mentally. And then they find out, like, the one thing that I really don't like the addition of the idea that, oh, I need these blue pills or I'm going to get dumb. You know, I'm just like,
well, it's what do you
just the fact that they tried to kill him was good enough for me, right?
You're conditioned to think that way. So it's just like, okay, what's going on? Like when they get the new pill and everybody takes the pill, they die.
Yeah.
So he's just like, I need this. And he doesn't know why he's taking it. He just knows that I'm supposed to take these pills. Like if he stops taking them, he's fine. Like this one actually had a lot of potential because you're bringing in almost creating super soldiers in a way. Yeah. Like that's what they're doing. So like it was.
You see, I never got the idea that the Bourne was enhanced in any kind of way.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
That's what you kind of get that like something's up with it when Oscar Isaac jumps out of the tree.
Yeah,
like he just like he superhero landing like 30-foot tree the dude just jumped out of like, and he's.
I wonder if this is a result of the explosion of superhero movies. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I wonder if this is kind of like a result of that. Like, oh well, let's make them superheroes now.
Well, let's just add like super strength, like super speed, like this enhance slightly to make it more action oriented. Yeah. But it was fine. But you also see a lot of they've always hinted at when you look at whenever anybody's hacking a file, you can see where like, oh, here it is, and there's Blackbriar and Treadstone and whatever the one from the next movie. Like even you see like when Nikki's going through stuff in the file, Bourne's going through the file, you see the mention of the stuff from this movie. So they tie it in really well.
All right. What do you think about this one, Brooks? And you had never seen Legacy either, right?
No.
Okay. What did you think about it?
I thought it was all right. It feels kind of like a companion movie with Ultimatum in a way. Because, you know, it's the timelines and there is information like Jason Bourne's actions like affect certain things in the movie, even though, you know, he's not there. And it also like introduced the idea of like there being like more than not just Jason Bourne's program. There are all these other kind of programs, kind of like what Grant Morrison did in New X-Men with the Weapon Plus stuff.
Yeah.
Where he's like revealed like Weapon X was just one program. And it's the 10th program out of so there's like all these other programs that came forward, starting with Captain America, which was Weapon 1. And then like they just kept doing it. And like this one seemed to involve a lot of drug, like, you know, the whole drug thing, like these drugs enhance these guys, like they have the blue pills to enhance their intelligence, to give them like, you know, kind of like Jason Bourne's ability to, you know, scan his environment and know what to do all the time. And then they have the green ones, which also enhance their physical abilities, you know, so they can like run faster, jump higher, you know. He like at one point he jumps from a mountain to another mountain and stuff like that. And another point, he jumps from one rooftop to another rooftop. Like, they can do more of these kind of almost impossible things.
Yeah.
So I thought it was interesting, that they could explore more, things within this universe, this kind of like shadow CIA stuff. Like there's a lot of potential in that, like just how far down the rabbit hole does all this stuff go? And like just how crooked are these guys,
Yeah. So I think this movie had a lot of shit stacked against it already. Paul Greengrass didn't come back, so Matt Damon didn't want to come back. So now the studio stuck with the idea of, what are we going to do? Do we recast Bourne? And that probably would have been more disastrous, I think, to recast Bourne. So they didn't. They put the focus in on a different program, on a different soldier, and tried to kind of come up with their own story around it. And I think it works for a little bit. I think it does. The movie is a little long for me. But as far as Jeremy Renner's concerned, I think he did fine in the movie. He carried it physically. I don't think he quite carried it the way Matt Damon did. But he's got some great action scenes, even though the action scenes are very sparse in this film comparatively to the other, especially from Ultimatum, where it's like nonstop. Yeah. This movie actually picks up the pace more so on the other side when you have Ed Norton and the other characters in the CIA and the Operation Outcome, and that stuff to me is a little bit more interesting. All the way it connects to the Bourne incident, and I love that they call it the Bourne incident. And I'm like, why don't we ever have a movie called the Bourne Incident? But it doesn't. When it gets away from that's when it bothers me. But it's not Jeremy Renner. Like, he's fine in the movie. Yeah. I think he does fine, and he does have one really badass action scene that I just fucking love is when he jumps down that alley and he like just skids down the wall and just lands on that dude and knocks the other dude out. Like, I think that's pretty badass. What do you think about Jeremy Renner in this film? Do you think he got a bad shake out of it again, just like he did in Mission Impossible? Because I think he's better in the Mission Impossible films. Yeah. Right? For real. Yeah.
But in this movie, it's kind of like you have to start over too, like it's like doing the Bourne Identity again, but with a different character. So like we don't know anything about this guy. We don't know how much he remembers about, himself. Like, we don't know how long this program's been going, like what all these guys have done. It's like there's just a lot to explore, and it doesn't seem to have enough time to do it because, there's all this other stuff going on too. And the Edward Norton character in this movie, it kind of cracked me up because there's an episode of John Oliver he did about infrastructure. Mm-hmm. At the end, he did a kind of a parody trailer for a movie about people who work in infrastructure, and Edward Norton was like the chief in that. So I kept thinking about that whenever I saw Edward Norton in this movie. So I had a hard time taking it seriously because of that. But I mean, I still think he did good. I really liked it.
Yeah, I think Ed Norton does a great job. I mean, he's basically playing the same role that all these other guys have played: Joan Allen, Chris Cooper, the dudes whose name I already forgot again, Strathairn. Why can't I remember his name? Who has that last name? I've never heard that one. Anyway, Ed Norton, I think, did fine. To me, that was some of the more compelling, interesting things. Like, I love how he has no problems telling us about this is what we need. We're going to need this, and I'm going to need like 3 shakes from McDonald's chocolate. I don't care if their milkshake machine is down. Because isn't like 40% of McDonald's milkshake machines always down? Like, honestly.
Maybe. We'll maybe look into that.
What do you think about Rachel Weisz in this film? I think she does a good job for what she does. Yeah. It's fine. But the dynamic's not there from the originals.
Like she was from The Mummy, right?
Yeah, she's in The Mummy. Yeah, and The Mummy Returns.
That's what I remembered her for. I was like, is that the chick from The Mummy? I'm like, oh yeah, it is a chick from The Mummy. But yeah, I think she does good. She is what she is. She's a character who's involved, but she doesn't have like she wasn't involved, she was a scientist. Like, that's what she tells him. Is like, I don't know any of this, the information that you want, I just make the pills, she's basically just a chemist. She's like, she doesn't question like she knows she's selling them to she's working for some shady people, but that's the kind of thing about these kind of black ops programs, like they have this like it's for the good of the country,
Yeah.
like we're patriots, we're keeping people safe. It's like sometimes you have to get your hands dirty, and I think like when she finally is confronted with with what her program has done to this guy, and like his life is over, like and he's on the run and everyone's trying to kill him, despite the fact that he's just been doing what these guys tell him to do. Like the same guys that ordered her to make this medicine have been sending him out to do their dirty work, and now to cover their own asses, they're just willing to throw him under the bus and assassinate him.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm right there with you. I want to take a look at this comment from Heroes to Icons as we're waiting on Mike to get done with this phone call. He says they wasted Renner on this film. He can put in the work, but it seemed like they didn't want to cut his character loose. Almost like the character didn't have room to breathe. I don't know. I think you do know, because I'm right there with you. That's what I felt. I felt like he was being held back. There wasn't a lot of action in this movie. I'm not saying it's a bad movie. I like the movie. I like it way more than I thought I would. Okay. And that's because I think Gilroy's there. It still has some of the style of the previous three films, but it doesn't quite live up to it. It's not as polished. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's and maybe I'm pretty sure maybe I don't know if he was a first time director or not. I don't know that, so I shouldn't say that. But this movie just kind of felt a little watered down at times. There are moments I really liked. I love the scene when the dude at the laboratory just starts killing all those people.
Yeah.
Like that's a very well done and scary, intense scene, right? Brooks, what do you think about it?
Yeah, that was interesting. It's like, because that raises another question, is like, how many people are affected by this thing? Because this guy's just a guy, like, as far as I can tell, he's just a guy who was also working in this lab. Was he like a middleman between the agency and the drug company or something?
Yeah, I got the idea that he was told to take them out because they were trying to just wipe out all traces of this program, right?
Yeah, it was like he acts so weird. It's like you don't know if he's under some kind of influence, like maybe they've put some kind of suggestion in him or something, or caused a psychotic break or something. But
it's a bit unclear, right?
Yeah, it's like
especially for a over 2 hour movie.
Yeah.
To not find the time to put that in there.
Yeah, I think that's probably the problem. Is like they wasted a lot of the time, like with some kind of less important stuff, when they could have been giving us more information and making things a little more interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. So while we're still waiting on Mike, let's get back into the Ed Norton character. I think he does a fine job. I think Ed Norton's probably the best performance in the film. I think he did a great job. He wound up playing Eric Byer. And I believe it. I believe it 100%. I like his style. I like his delivery. I like his attitude. And once again, just kind of playing the same role, but I do like him. So would you elaborate a little bit more on Ed Norton, what you thought about his character in this film?
Well, I mean, it's like he's brought in, he's supposed to be like the super competent guy. Like he knows exactly what he's doing. He knows how to, he knows how to efficiently use his team to get the job done. And that's what he does. He gets in there. He's like, do this, you do this, you do this, you do this. And when it's time for, like, when he thinks Jason Bourne knows their location, he's like, all right, it's time to move. Everybody start packing up. We're going to go here. He already has, like, he knows when he needs to move,
Yeah.
And when he has, he's got his shit together. And you can see why they put this guy in charge.
Absolutely. Before we get to the next bit that I was going to talk about, Mike is rejoining us. Mike, we finished the entire show, so we're about done.
Roll credit.
We just talked about Jason Bourne too, and we're done. Anyway, no, I'm just kidding.
Just play Extreme Ways and then fade out.
Yeah, right. I wish. I really wanted to. I was like, man, I wish I could use the Extreme Ways song. But I just know at the end we'll do it ourselves, right?
We should have.
What'd you say?
Just gotta call Moby and be like, "Hey, man, can I get the shit right?"
Oh yeah, because YouTube's gonna believe that I got his fucking approval. Okay.
All you got to do is fax it to them. Yeah, they'll do it. So what? Sorry, I was on the phone with Tony about the thing that you put at the very beginning of the show. So
okay, so what do you think about Jeremy Renner's performance in this film?
So, I liked it. I thought he killed it. So it's just, he did a solid job. I liked his action. There's a little bit of mystery to him. Like, it starts in the water also, and then he's just shivering, and then he's like, I climbed the mountain. It's like, nobody climbs the mountain. It's like, I climbed the mountain. And it's just like, well, it shows him that it's character development, I guess, over the struggle. Him fighting the wolves, I thought was really cool. And then he shows up at the house, and then it's just like, oh, cool. Like, he's fighting those guys. And it's still very Bourne-esque. When I say that, I mean, like Jason would do. And I thought that was fun. And then, like, there he is a car chase and fighting another agent. So, like, I thought he did for what he was required. I thought it was great. I thought the story. I'm intrigued to see what more that he knows what about, because you don't have that. It's just a run. That's all it is. It's just run. So now you don't have to figure out what's going on. You just, like, here we go.
What do you think about Rachel Weisz in the film?
I thought, as much as I like her, it was that could have been anybody in that room, and they just made it her. Is the way I felt. So I thought she did a great job. She's one of my favorite actresses, and it's kind of like she gets involved in a little bit of it in the house. Like, she's got, like, that's my gun. Where's my gun? Like, how did you, like, what are you doing? Like, she's not.
That's her best scene, I think, when she's being interrogated. That's
she's not innocent and naive. She doesn't play the victim. She's like, she's a fighter, because even in the end, she's just like, she's the one that kicks the dude that sends
someone's clicking something. It's very distracting to me. Who's
Sorry,
doing that?
That was me.
Okay.
I'm talking fast.
Do you got a what are those things called? I don't know, a fidget spinner or whatever. Some kind of, anyway. What do you think about Ed Norton in the film? The addition of him.
It's Ed Norton. Like, I was really surprised to see him with his history. I wonder how much, because, like, everything you heard about him from the Incredible Hulk, of, like, rewriting the script, and how, like, he's got the method, and so I'm wondering how much of this was actually changed because of what he had to do or what he had to say, because apparently he never makes anything difficult according to Hollywood. So, but it's one of those. I mean, if he was easy to work with, he would have been in all the Avengers movies. So, I thought his character was fine. He was kind of, at first I thought he was like, okay, but then he was a little Weasley. Just kind of moving in and out. Like, there was no, like, he was just kind of there.
Yeah, so. Gotcha. My favorite scene in this film is the cabin scene with Oscar Isaac and Jeremy Renner. And I'll be honest with y'all, if the entire movie was that scene just elongated, because the tension, you're like, is this dude about to have to kill him? Are they going to fight? And then, like, they kind of, like, he asks him about his past and he gets pissed. And I'm like, I thought he was, like, telling him to leave right the fuck now, and then you have all this stuff and then he gets blown up. Right. But, like, that could have been the whole movie for me. Just these two spies in this cabin trying to figure out who's supposed to kill the other one in this paranoia, right? Or something like that. Like, I actually would have liked that probably more. I don't think it's a bad film. I think it's solid. But because it's got Bourne in the title, it kind of gets compared. And that's maybe unfair to the movie, but at the same time, they called it Bourne Legacy. You know what I'm saying?
And it has nothing to do with Jason Bourne, but it's still the after effects of the whole Treadstone and Blackbriar. Like, it's like that was a seed that was planted, and then we grew into this. And it's like, okay, so this is what we did first, and it didn't work. So then we did this, and it didn't work. So we did this, and like, oh crap, we're about to get found out. There's a major hearing going on, and, like, we're about to be, all outed. So we have to clean everything up. because what we're doing is not perfect.
Yeah.
Or legal.
So let's get to the ratings. And you out there, join us if you want to help us rate this film. So out of 5 possible you digs, what do you give the Bourne Legacy, Mike?
This is the one I give 3.5.
3.5.
Yeah.
Solid score, but not as good as some of the others.
It's like you said, it's a Bourne movie without Jason Bourne. So, and I get why they called it Legacy, because it's a side story, and side stories are cool. I mean, had we gotten this, I'm still waiting for the sequel to this to find out what happened to all the damn characters.
It would have been a great moment if at some point, like, Jeremy Renner is trying to figure some shit out and he comes across Matt Damon and he just goes, Jesus Christ, it's Jason Bourne. What about you, Brooks? Out of 5 possible you digs, what do you give Bourne Legacy?
I'd give this one a 3.
Okay.
It's a pretty fair movie. Not too bad, but not too special either.
I gotcha. Okay. All right. 3.5, 3. I'm going to agree with Mike and go 3.5. I think it's solid. It's okay for what it is. It's got some issues, mostly in the pacing. And one of my favorite things about the Bourne films is the pacing. So that detracts from it for me. It's got some solid performances. The overall story is slightly engaging. It has some problems in the third act for me. So I'd knock it down to 3.5, but it's still enjoyable. I liked it more than I thought I would when I watched it. So 3.5, 3.5, 3.0, and that's what we think about that. And then 4 years ago, in 2016, they managed to get Paul Greengrass and Matt Damon to come back and do a movie called The Bourne Jason. No, it's just called Jason Bourne. In this new thing that they have in action franchises where when you get to a certain point, you just name the movie the first and last name. You know, like, y'all don't think that there's going to be a Die Hard movie one day called John McClane? Weren't they already talking about doing that? Right? Rambo was originally just going to be called John Rambo. Rocky Balboa is Rocky 6. Like, I mean, just watch the Angry Video Games Nerd video about that shit. Right?
Confused. Yeah.
And what's crazy is all the books continue that legacy of calling it the Bourne something. And that's a very Robert Ludlum thing to do. Me and Brooks were kind of laughing about this because, I mean,
like, you were naming off like just all these books with like the same kind of convention, the same two words, always 2 words.
It's always the something something.
Yeah.
You know? Well, like, for instance, let me take a look. Robert Ludlum books, right? So we have the Bourne ones, right? And we have the Matarese Circle, the Scarlatti Inheritance, the Chancellor Manuscript, the Sigma Protocol, the Janssen Directive, the Holcroft Covenant, the Gemini Contenders, the Prometheus Deception, the Scorpio Illusion. You get what I'm going for. So I think it's pretty funny. He sticks with it though, right? He sticks with it. So it bothers me that this movie's not the Bourne something, especially when, even if it's just based on the title, there are plenty of other Bourne books to like, to take the title from, right? For instance, the Bourne books. After Bourne Legacy is Bourne Betrayal, the Bourne Sanction, the Bourne Deception, the Bourne Objective, the Bourne Dominion, the Bourne Imperative, the Bourne Retribution, the Bourne Ascendancy, the Bourne Enigma, and the last one was 2017. That's the Bourne Initiative. And there also is a video game called the Bourne Conspiracy. Maybe they could have gone that route, right? Anyway, Jason Bourne. But y'all, I didn't really like this film. I was really disappointed in this one. Mostly because I feel like a lot of movies have this bad habit of, they get to a certain point, they really don't know what to do. And so they're like, well, let's reveal something unknown about the past to put the entire franchise in a different light. The Scream 3 effect. You know what I'm saying? And in this one, spoilers, we find out that his dad started Treadstone. Then Jason Bourne, David Webb, was headhunted by Treadstone, Albert Finney, right? And the dad didn't want him to be a part of this, so they killed the dad. Jason still signs up, and then blah, blah, blah. And now when he finds out he's going to get some of this I was really pumped for this because I was like, well, Bourne Legacy. Automatically, I thought that was going to be the worst one in the franchise. So when I thought it was actually pretty decent, I was like, well, fuck yeah, Like Jason Bourne's gonna be dope, man. Greengrass is back, Matt Damon's back. Now we add in Tommy Lee Jones. Like, how do you top the actors you've already cast in all the previous films? Tommy Lee freaking Jones. This movie's boring to me. It's got a great first act. It opens so freaking strong with him on the motorcycle chase with Julia Stiles' character. What happens? That character's crazy. I was invested. I was interested. This new assassin. What's going on? And then it just gets boring, dull. And even though it has some really great action scenes in it, and the action got cranked back up in this from Legacy, 100%. Dude, what about that scene when, like, I don't remember what they're in, but they're like driving through all those other cars, and it's just like nonstop, and it's like a wave of cars. It's pretty dope, but the story itself was completely unengaging to me. All the stuff about that social media dude and his thing, and the CIA wants a backdoor in his. What did that have to do with the story at all? And like they spend all this time on that. I'm like, I don't even get how that's necessarily relevant.
Apparently, they were going to use that social media thing basically kind of to spy on people. It's like he was kind of making a backdoor deal with these intelligence agencies.
I get that. I think that's a great thing to explore, but it doesn't connect directly to the story that Jason Bourne's doing. And to me, that's a weak point of the film.
It had to do a lot with what was going on in the world. And
they mentioned Edward Snowden like 3 times in this movie.
Because you had, I'd have to double check the dates on this, but it was a mass shooting in California where the guy, everything was planned, and they couldn't unlock his phone, and it went to Apple, and Apple was just like, no, we're not going to unlock it for you. Like, we're going to run the Enigma. We're going to figure this out. Eventually, just go ahead and just like you can help us make this easier, and Apple wasn't budging, and then so that's kind of what that's my kind of relation to that's what I remember that going on, and being like the stuff like WhatsApp, the things and what's that other one? Snapchat, where everything disappears, and that's kind of what that's what they were going for.
I get the modern relevance of it. But what's its relevance to the fucking story? There is none. It's not connected to the damn Jason Bourne journey in this story at all. So to me, it just completely detracts and slows the pace of the film down, takes it away.
A different set of stakes, I guess. Aside from the Jason
completely unrelated
past, there's like this. There's also the thing of the.
It's completely unrelated to me. In all the other films, everything's tied in, right? That's what we expect from story. We expect, even though this is not how the real world always works, we expect everything in film to be in service of moving the story forward. And all this does to me is just slow it down so that I guess Paul Greengrass or whoever can say what they want to about Facebook and Twitter and CIA. And I mean, I get all that. Make the movie about that. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, don't just have it be like a subplot that really ultimately has Jason Bourne ever even fucking like it doesn't even those stories don't even cross paths. Well, I don't know. What do you think about the film overall, Mike?
Didn't the internet guy have something to do with like knowing their secrets? Like they gave him the money because he
they gave him his startup money.
Yeah, because he did jobs for them. So
but what does that have to do with Jason Bourne?
Well, it was the fact that
nothing.
Well, yeah, I mean, but it's still part of the he's still trying to figure everything out, and they're going to try to shoot him to pin. That's what they were trying to do. Is at the conference in Vegas, they were going to he was going to speak. They were going to assassinate him and pin it on Bourne.
Yeah.
So that's how it relates to Jason Bourne.
So barely fucking at all.
Well, they were just going to Jason Bourne's in town because because the girl was helping him. Like, you're going to run lead on this, and that's the one where he was supposed to meet the guy in the middle of the town, of the square, and Bourne set off all the fire alarms, and that's the one that falls off the roof.
So, what do you think about the film overall, Mike?
It's enjoyable. It's a Bourne film, so, but it doesn't have to say it's not needed. I preferred to have Legacy Part 2 over this. So it's just like, oh, your dad did Treadstone. Like, oh, like it was okay. That, to me, it's just okay.
What about you, Brooks?
I thought it was all right. Like there was, I did have a hard time following some of the stuff. Like there's a lot of kind of like the unrelated. The whole plot with the social media thing is kind of unrelated and kind of like goes off on its own thing. I didn't like. I feel like they brought Julia Stiles' character back, and they just defridge her, which I thought was kind of. I didn't care for that really. I thought like they could have used her more. But
I thought this was going to be the movie where she actually like became
like
an action star,
like be able to help, because Bourne usually has somebody helping him, like somebody else like assisting him, and on this one he's mostly solo. And
yeah.
So I think this is probably the weakest out of the Bourne movies.
Yeah, I would probably agree. I like it's got good action.
Yeah.
The action is still fine in it. I think the action sequences are good. Tommy Lee Jones. Let's talk about this. Tommy Lee Jones has the capability of really nailing this role, but I just don't think there was much written for it. You know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't near as compelling to me as Chris Cooper, Brian Cox, Joan Allen, the straight Heron guy from 8 Men Out, or Albert Finney or Ed Norton. It just this whole movie story-wise falls very flat for me. It's got action. The action got ramped back up. So that was nice and that was cool. And it's still a fun action movie at times. But it starts becoming a little bit more like every other fucking movie out there.
Yeah.
It just starts becoming more and more cliche and typical. And to me, that's not what the Bourne series was. And I mean, I like Legacy all right, but after watching Legacy and Jason Bourne, I really wish they would have just done the 3. And then it would have been this like perfect trilogy of a spy action thriller. But I think it's been tainted with these last couple movies. And they're not bad movies, but the problem is Godfather 3 is not a bad movie, but it ain't Godfather or Godfather 2. Do you get what I'm saying? So it gets unfairly, and maybe we're being harsh on it. Maybe I'm being harsh on it, but if you're a part of a legacy, if you're part of a franchise, you got to live up to it. And where Mission Impossible is that rare instance where the franchise gets stronger at the end, right? As opposed to the first 3 MI movies are not near as good as the last 3 for me. Bourne's the opposite, but but the problem is the direction of the Bourne movies was they were like kind of consistently getting better, and it peaked at Ultimatum. And then I really think that when Greengrass and Matt Damon didn't want to come back, I think they should have just been like, well, maybe we're done. We got 3 really good movies, but you got to get some money. Legacy and Jason Bourne both feel like cash grabs to me. Now, obviously, every movie's a cash grab. The point of making a movie for a production company is to make money, right? But
sellouts making movies to make money.
It just feels a little bit more sellout to me, Brooks. What do you think?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think Legacy and Jason Bourne are kind of superfluous to the Bourne story. Like, if you wanted, you could like just say Ultimatum was the end, and like basically they're not necessary. I don't think they don't feel necessary. Even Jason Bourne, it doesn't feel like any of the information is really that important, and it's kind of makes it a little lame, with the whole reveal about his dad being the guy who started the program and all that. It's like, I don't know, I just wasn't feeling it.
What about you, Mike? What are your thoughts on this whole line of thinking?
Man, I like this movie a lot more because I'm sitting here thinking about it, and just that, like, Tommy Lee Jones did a damn good job. Like when he's sitting in there talking with the guy, he's in his ear, and he's walking him through everything, and then just like, hey, we're going to put you in charge. We're going to put you in charge. We're going to put you in charge to the girl. See how you do out in the field. Give you a test run. Like, very just, like, yeah, it's a cash grab, yeah, but like, there's people that came in and still did stellar performances.
Yeah, we can't forget Alicia Vikander's in here as Heather Lee. Forgettable to me in the movie. Like,
not really. I mean, she's
to me, Mike.
well,
not to you. Explain why.
I thought she did great because like here it comes. It's like here's the new person that's going to try to catch. I'm going to try to tame Jason Bourne and bring him in because everybody's tried before and failed.
It kind of replaces Joan Allen in this movie, I think.
A little bit, and like I thought she did a great job, and her chemistry with Tommy Lee Jones was great, and it's a mentor mentee kind of thing, and he's very condescending to her, and so she's like, "You're in the field, like what's going on? Why are you doing this?" And he's over here on the phone talking to an asset, and the asset's taking out her team, team A and team B, and it's just like, "Well, you've made a mistake. I'm gonna have to do this." So like I think that whole dynamic was great. And then, like, it goes back to Tommy Lee's in that guy's ear talking, like, don't tell him anything. Don't tell him anything. Don't tell him anything. Like, how long is he there? Like, don't worry, we'll be there soon. Then, bam, asset shows up, shoots them both. Jason goes falling off the roof. Like, whoo! Like, that scene. Then it's like, okay. Then she comes in and she's just like, hey, I think you're a little misguided, but I think you're right. Like, you're just looking for something, and I want to help you. Like, I want to do the right thing. You seem like a patriot.
And the new program this time is Iron Hand. That's the program. Brooks, what do you think about Lee, like Tommy Lee Jones, and the character of Heather Lee? What do you think about that?
I thought it was pretty. It's probably one of the best parts of the movie. Actually, was the two pursuers, I guess, I've actually found their interactions probably one of the more interesting parts of the movie, and especially considering like he's kind of Tommy Lee Jones is kind of like doing this he's putting on this fatherly act for kind of like he's encouraging her, but at the same time he's trying to manipulate her, and he's doing all this stuff behind her back, and it got to a point where I was like, okay, is Tommy Lee Jones going to be the crooked FBI or intelligence leader guy that's going to end up being the bad guy at the end? And sure enough, I called it.
Gore's got a good point here. Gore says they had a great antagonist with Vincent Castle. He's the asset, right?
Yeah.
But it was a problematic movie for all the reasons mentioned here. A big disappointment. Castle plays a great role, and I would have liked to have seen more maybe of him. And I know he's in there. He's in there plenty, but I think to me, he's the most captivating part of the entire movie, and that includes Jason Bourne. I actually didn't care about Jason Bourne in this film, and it hurt me. It hurt me because I love the hell out of Matt Damon and Jason Bourne, and this movie's a big disappointment to me, man.
Like I never understood that he shows up to the house of the guy that Nikki's working with. And like the guy's like, I'm gonna start attacking you. Like, why did he start attacking him? Like, oh, we got a fight scene with Jason Bourne. Like, oh, hey, look, they're fighting. Like, there's stuff like that that's kind of like
Jesus Christ, it's Jason Bourne.
Yeah. So, but the Heather Lee, the little twist at the end, I thought that was kind of nice because you think she's a good person, and then it's just like, fuck, there's the tape. Like you got me busted.
I don't know of any plans on doing another Bourne film. It's been 4 years. At this point, you think they would already have been one in motion, but I think after the disappointment critically and commercially of the last, the movie made over $400 million, but we're talking about a movie now, an age now where they're expecting to get a bit closer to $1 billion for a big franchise, And so I don't know. Do you think there'll be another one, Mike?
They were talking about it, and I think I think COVID is one of the things that kind of stopped the tracks of it. I think it's in the works, but I don't know when they're going to do.
Well, they did do the TV show. They did that TV show Treadstone, and so when they did that, it's almost like they gave up and they decided to go small screen. And I think small screen's a good way to tell these types of stories, but man, those first 3 Bourne films are so freaking good. What about you, Brooks? Do you think they're going to do another one, and would you want another one?
I'd give it a chance, but the chances are if they go back to Bourne, they'd probably try for a reboot.
Yeah.
Like, just change up the actor and like maybe start fresh.
Now, I haven't seen Treadstone, the show, but from what I've gathered, it's kind of like a reboot, right? Because they even have a different guy playing Jason Bourne or something like that, don't they? Because nobody's here seen it though, right?
Yeah,
No, I was gonna
even
watch
heard of it.
That just been a bridge too far. I think it has the early days and the organization, the setting up of Treadstone and like the early days of it.
Gotcha.
So I don't know if I'd have to look it up. But I mean, even if the 6 was just Jeremy Renner, I just did Google a thing and they're still looking. There's 6. They want to do a 6, but there's not. They don't know. They're still looking for a director and a story.
Yeah, and if Greengrass doesn't come in, I mean, that's what happened with Legacy. Greengrass didn't sign on to it, so neither did Matt Damon. So I don't know. I really do think it's a shame though, because I really do like the first 20 minutes of this film. When it started, I was like, hell yeah, we are back, baby. Bourne is back. Let's do it. And then it just got dull, slow, boring to me. So out of 5 possible you digs, you out there in the chat, let us know what you think. Mike, what do you give Jason Bourne?
I give this one a 3.
3.
Yeah,
Okay.
3 good digs.
Average film.
Yep.
All right. What about you, Brooks?
I'd give it a 3 too. It's all right. It could have been better, but it's not terrible.
I'm right there along with you guys. I'm going 3. Across the board, 3. It's an average film. It's okay. It's got some good action bits. It starts off really strong, but it just does not live up to the original trilogy, in my opinion. I don't know if I can think of a better trilogy of films aside from if you want to just count the last 3 Mission Impossible films as its own trilogy, which you could. Obviously, I'm a big Matrix fan, so I know not that many people like the whole trilogy, but I do. But I think Bourne's one of the best trilogy, and I feel like it's just tainted a little bit because of those last 2 movies. But I think the movie's still okay for an action film, but it's not good as a Bourne film for me. So 3s all the way around. And that concludes our look at Jason Bourne, the franchise. Action Fest 2020 is over.
Yay.
It's always sad to see Action Fest end, but it's also kind of exciting because that means that Horror Fest is right around the corner. So next week, we'll be reviewing the winner of the PCP Army movie poll John Hughes edition, which seems to be Ferris Bueller's Day Off right now. So be on the lookout for that next Friday night. Then we were going to be shifting focus to the Bill and Ted movies. Then we actually will have some new movies to cover, like Tenet and Black Widow. So that seems kind of exciting.
Bill and Ted, right?
Bill and Ted's, well, yeah, Bill and Ted we're doing for show. So yeah, very, very excited for that. But also in September, Horror Fest begins. And we've got a great lineup for Horror Fest this year. If you want to check out the announcement on that lineup, you can check it out on the previous Rockin' Robbie Live from Sunday night, August 2nd. So we're going to take a quick intermission, but we'll be right back to chat with you out there about anything pop culture related and then wrap up with some show and tell. We will be right back here on Pop Culture Philosophers. I love how I'm the only one that knows how to turn off their camera, apparently.
Well, normally I don't have to bother because, the thing is playing.
You're right. Too true. Too true. Too true. So what's up, everybody? It's time for the after show. What?
What happened with Mark?
We'll talk about that off camera. Getting my beer situated and my vape juice. So, Brooks, let's go ahead and get this started. Gore Vidal says Lord of the Rings is a great trilogy because we were talking about great trilogies. Woo. Let's keep that conversation going.
Lord of the Rings.
I know you're a big, I know Brooks is a huge, not only is he a brony, he's also a My Little Pony. I mean, Lord of the Rings nut. Why do you think Lord of the Rings worked so well as a trilogy, movie trilogy, but The Hobbit didn't?
Well, I think they had more to prove with the Lord of the Rings movies. Like he had to kind of live up to the material, and it wasn't a sure thing,
Yeah.
In the beginning. So, like the effort that they had to put into to make the Fellowship successful, and to continue to keep making the movie successful is more. But with the Hobbit movies, it's like it feels kind of like they just wanted to ride off the success instead, and the fact that they split The Hobbit into 3 movies kind of made it feel too bloated. Like, I think if they'd made it 2 movies, it would have been perfect.
Literally there and back again.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's no way that anybody can read The Hobbit and go, yeah, we need to make 3 movies out of this. I mean,
3-hour movies.
The Hobbit, The Lord of the Rings, and they give equal time to The Hobbit. Like, they had to add in all that extra shit. So they add in stuff from, what's that called? The Silmarillion, or what is it called?
Silmarillion, yeah. And appendices stuff.
Yeah.
It's kind of like some history of Middle-earth, which I actually liked. I liked that they showed, I liked the little confrontation with Saruman and Galadriel and Gandalf against the spirit of Sauron and all that. But it didn't feel like it belonged, there. Like The Hobbit wasn't really that closely tied to the Lord of the Rings, really, when it comes down to it.
Not even at all initially, right? Like he actually, didn't they add in the Gollum and the ring scene later on, like after the Rings? Yeah. So
you had to change Riddles in the Dark.
Would you say that the Lord of the Rings movies would be your favorite film trilogy?
Yeah, I think so.
Now, I know it's hard to actually have just a trilogy now. Everybody's adding more movies to their franchises.
Because if it's successful, then you want to make more money off of it.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. I think that's why we got 3 fucking Hobbit films.
Yeah.
Overbloated. I never even saw the final one. I was like, you know what? I know how it all ends. Fuck it. I was like, I like the animated Hobbit so much better. The one from the 70s or whatever it was, maybe the 60s. Yeah. Love that one. Mike, what would be your favorite cinematic trilogy?
Matrix is good. Lord of the Rings is good. Oh, man. It's a toss-up between either Lethal Weapon and Die Hard.
Well, Lethal Weapon's 4 movies.
Yeah, Lethal Weapon has 4 now.
Yeah, but I still take the 1, 2, and 3. Die Hard's got 5.
I take 4 over 3. And I love Lethal Weapon, but I take 4 over 3. I know that's not a popular opinion. What?
Chris Rock's the only reason why people like that movie.
I love Chris Rock in that movie.
But that's the Riggs eating dog biscuits.
I love Joe Pesci's character in those films, but he's annoying as fuck to me in 3.
He's annoying as fucking 4 to me.
I like him in 4 because him and Chris Rock they work so well together.
4.
I like 4. Jet Li's in it. I really like 4.
Yeah, that is who's the perp in the bag. Does a perp have a badge? Does a perp have a gun? I'm sorry. Joe Pesci did a great job in 4.
None of them are as good as 1 and 2, obviously.
No.
Diplomatic immunity. I think Lethal Weapon's one we should cover next year for Action Fest 100%, because I would love to revisit those films. I have them on Blu-ray, and I would love to. I'm always down to revisit them. Maybe we should do a. Is a kind of an idea. You know how they always do the Christmas in July thing? Like I was thinking about doing that. Like that'd be a fun thing to do next year. It'd be like Christmas action movies for July's Action Fest, like Lethal Weapon, Die Hard. You know what I'm saying? Like we just do the Christmas ones.
But like a lot
Rambo.
But then like Rambo, like if Rambo had stuck to a trilogy, that would have been fun. Like that would have been cool.
No, because Rambo, the fourth one, is better than 2 and 3. And some people like Jelani say it's better than First Blood, which I think is sacrilegious to say. But
there's just so many trilogies that are now anthologies, so it's kind of like this is my go-to. Like, and even
you know what? You know, it'd be a really good trilogy if we could just forget that the fourth one even ever existed. Alien.
Yeah.
And now I know not as many people like Alien 3 as much as I do, but 1, 2, and 3 of Alien are great to me. And I love in the Alien 3 kind of brings it all back full circle to where there's one alien, they're trapped in a place, you know, and I really like the Alien in 3, but whatever. If I had to pick one, well, it would be Bourne, but they've done 2 more. So I guess I can hold on to my Matrix idea until the 4th one comes out, and hopefully that one's good. But I this is not a popular opinion. I'm aware of this, y'all. Nobody has to come at me about this. But I love all 3 Matrix films immensely. And I think the best one's actually Reloaded. So
yeah, I love Reloaded.
Reloaded's great.
Reloaded's my favorite too. I didn't care much for Revolutions, but I haven't watched it in a while, so maybe like
I think the
one I don't own.
Yeah.
So maybe if I watched it again, if I actually like rewatched all 3 of them, I might think better of Revolutions. But Revolutions would be kind of boring.
Revolutions throws you off because it's not the ending you're expecting.
Yeah.
Like it's a way more of a philosophical ending. Yeah. And I did not necessarily like it the first time I saw it. I think I remember all of us being like really kind of confused by Revolutions, but the more that I have not only watched those films, but literally studied them and the philosophy behind it, and using the Blu-ray sets or DVD sets are great for that because they have like commentary on each movie by philosophers. And then there's this a nice documentary on that set called The Philosophy of the Matrix. And that's when you start getting into it. And also the more in depth of being a Grant Morrison fan that I became, and not obviously to most people, but The Matrix is kind of a riff on The Invisibles a little bit, and knowing the end of The Invisibles, and studying that a bit more, because Brooks can probably attest to this, and I don't know if Mike's ever made it all the way through Invisibles, but the ending of Invisibles, when you first read it, you're kind of like, what the fuck just happened?
Well, that's kind of like how I was through the whole first time of reading The Invisibles too.
I made it through, I think it was book 3 is where I stopped, and I need to continue on. But it's funny, our friend Sam is he bought the first volume of Invisibles. And I was he's like, is this the one that you said that's kind of like The Matrix? And I was like, yeah. So I was trying to find some material on it, and I found an article all the way back from like 2003, and it's Grant Morrison, and it's just like, hey guys, if you had just waited, I would have finished the story, and you could have ripped it off completely. Apparently, in this article, like there was people from the set. There was like, there was like you could not walk. Like every time you turn the corner, like somebody's got a copy of a script and somebody's got a copy of The Invisibles. Like that's how the movie is. It's basically the first one is a ripoff of Invisibles, and it didn't finish.
But so that we don't, because I've told people this before, right? And then they go back and they watch The Matrix or they read The Invisibles and they're like, no, it's not, right? Because like all they did, you take the idea of The Invisibles, they're a revolutionary group, right? They're the
agents, the villains.
Yep. And then
maintain order.
And instead of artificial intelligence keeping them in a virtual reality world, it's extra dimensional entities keeping our brains clouded and us seeing what they want us to see and hiding what's actually going on behind the scenes. And what the Matrix is to technology, the Invisibles is to the occult, right? You kind of get that there. But it's very obvious in the first book, especially. Like, King Mob is Morpheus. They literally even look the same aside from the color of the skin. You know what I'm saying? There was a while even, I wish I would have got that Morpheus pop now. But I wanted to get that Morpheus pop and just get somebody to paint it. So it'd be a King Mob pop, you know?
And Neo's kind of like Jack Frost in a way.
Neo is Jack Frost. And not, there's not, I mean, those are very obvious. And like, one of the things he has Jack do when Tom O'Bedlam's like teaching him, training him, is one of the things he has him do is jump off the fucking building, right? You know, and just, there's a lot of it in there. Then just the style of it. But they do actually have similar endings in a way where the idea of the ending is that there is no us versus them. There is no Spoon. There's just us, right? And that's kind of the ending of both books, is that there are no sides. It's all just two sides of the same coin. And I think throws many people off because we're used to seeing the good guy shoot down the bad guy at the end and then the credits roll, you know? So there. A Fable has a great one. Back to the Future. Great trilogy. I love all three of those films.
Hey, I mean, Bill and Ted could be a great trilogy.
Bill and Ted, I think, is going to be a hell of a trilogy.
Real quick, too, the one of the reasons in that article that I found, they asked Grant Morrison is why do you have 100% grounds to sue, to sue it on. It's like, well, I work for Warner Brothers and I'm suing a movie made by Warner Brothers. How much money do you think I'm going to get out of this? And
yeah,
it's just
and I think
it's like he had no like, and it's like you're right, like. You're going to sue yourself. You're suing yourself is what you're doing.
Well, there are elements of it, right? But I think that because of the changes they made, they did make a unique movie, right? And basically they took the Invisibles, threw it into a more modern technological based idea and concept, and threw in a lot of anime influence in there as well, you know? So yeah, I think the Invisibles were definitely an inspiration for it. But I don't think they would have had enough grounds to sue.
No, he had enough grounds to sue, but it's like I said, it would be Warner Brothers suing Warner Brothers.
I think there's more grounds to sue J.K. Rowling for ripping off Neil Gaiman's Books of Magic.
That too.
I never read Books of Magic, but George was saying like something similar to me one time.
Well, you know the character of Tim Hunter, right?
Kinda, yeah.
A special boy magician who is the chosen one, who wears, like round glasses, who has an owl, who has to be taught to use his power so that he can defeat the evil one. Bro. I remember when Harry Potter, the movie, first came out, and I was like, is this Books of Magic? Like, is this Tim Hunter? Like, what the hell? Mike, you've read that stuff. You know what we're talking about, right?
Sirius Black, John Constantine, kind of similar, little.
Yeah, maybe, absolutely.
Like the
Trenchcoat Brigade are basically Lupin and all. Yeah, exactly.
It's like kind of.
His parents are killed. Right? No, the original Books of Magic book by Neil Gaiman is really good.
Yeah, I don't know if it's still in print though.
I think they're just now putting it in print. It's a shame that it's not. I have a copy though. I can let Brooks borrow. So
it's definitely worth a read.
Hey, what's up, Nick? How you doing, buddy? Gore says, I enjoyed The Invisibles. Great series. I did not like the Matrix sequels. The dialogue at times became too much to bear.
Ergo.
Every time you read The Invisibles, it gets better, by the way.
Yeah.
And there's a book called Our Sentence is Up, which is literally the last words in The Invisibles. That book will shed a lot of light on things that took me years to fucking learn. You know what I'm saying? I first read this shit back. It was just wrapping up. It wrapped up in like 2000, 2001. They wanted it done by 2000, but it didn't quite finish in time. Maybe it was a little bit later than that, but I read it as it was in its volume 3, its final run. And that's a book that got canceled twice. And Grant Morrison had the big wankathon to try to bring it back, where he had everybody masturbate while focusing on a sigil to bring the book back. And
Well, I guess it worked.
I mean, does magic work? Does sigil magic work? I don't know. The Invisibles got to finish, even though it wasn't a big seller. So that's pretty cool. Super Dragon Z1 wants to know, did y'all hear about the new John Wick movie? I guess the big thing is, have we heard about the new John Wick movies? Because they've confirmed now they're doing a 5th one, and they're going to film 4 and 5 back to back. Here's something crazy. I've never seen a John Wick film. Never.
Like I knew that they were going to make another one because of the ending of the 3rd one, but I haven't heard anything about it yet. I actually like the John Wick movies are actually pretty good. Like especially the first 2 are really good. The 3rd one's a little, but it's still a damn good movie.
What's the one? What's the one where he teams up with
Halle Berry?
Yeah,
that's the 3rd one.
Okay, so I need to watch 2. Somehow I skipped 2.
That's weird. Gore says, I don't think The Matrix ripped off The Invisibles, but Grant Morrison did borrow
watching it
from Mike. Gore says, I don't think The Matrix ripped off The Invisibles, but Grant Morrison did borrow from Michael Moorcock's Jerry Cornelius novels. Now, I'm not familiar with those. Morrison borrowed a hell of a lot from the Illuminatus trilogy by Robert Anton Wilson. But allegedly, what I have heard is that the Wachowskis wanted to make The Invisibles. Warner Brothers wouldn't approve it, so they just reformatted the story into a different setting and came up with The Matrix. But it is there, 100%. Neo is Jack Frost. King Mob is Morpheus. It's there. And it's really evident in the first book of The Invisibles, which is what I think they took the most stuff from. But the agents even wear those sunglasses, right, Brooks?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, so like they ripped off a lot, including just the style of it, the way that they dress, the way that the characters dress and they move around. And it's about a group of freedom fighters trying to break people out of this mass hallucination, right? And awake them to the truth of what's really going on. There's a lot of similarities, but I think it's different enough that it stands on its own. And that's why I love them and I don't hate them. Mike, what were you going to say? You're going to say, or you're about back on John Wick or something?
Oh, no. I just said I just need to watch 2. I slept. Oh, I fell asleep during it. Got off work late or something and started it and then never finished it.
I always hear they're great films, and I don't doubt it. They look, I've seen some of the trailers. They look beautiful. They look like they got great cinematography and wonderful colors in it and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're really good. I love me some John Wick.
Fable says the Matrix animated movie was awesome. Yes.
Oh, the Animatrix. I love the Animatrix.
Love it. It's great soundtrack too. There's a great soundtrack on every single one of those damn films.
Like especially the second Renaissance shorts that kind of go into the history of the conflict, how the machine war started.
Yep. That's my favorite bit.
Yeah, it has some like really disturbing imagery too, like when this mob is beating on that lady, and then they like hit her across the head with a piece of metal, and her skin rips off, and it shows that she's got the robot skull.
Yeah, I love the Animatrix. I think it's great. To be honest, my least favorite segment in the Animatrix is the most famous one, and I guess that's Flight of the Osiris, and that's done by the people that did the Final Fantasy Spirits Within movie, right?
Yeah, it was the 3D animated one.
Yeah, that one's okay.
Yeah.
But that one is the one that's actually very important.
Yeah, because it ties into the next
to Reloaded.
movie.
Yeah. So yeah, I do like those. But yeah, I need to check out the John Wick films. Something I plan on doing. But we're about to gear up for Horror Fest. So.
Well, I mean, you could shrink Horror Fest.
Why would we do that?
Make it a month instead of 2.
Then we wouldn't be able to cover like 30 films.
No, but Action Fest, we didn't cover 30 films. We could have.
Shit. I like horror movies better than action movies.
Oh.
Go figure.
So I was never big into the slasher stuff. So I was more into the
We're not doing too many slashers.
But like It Follows, like it's more psychological.
This is something Mike. It's something you need to know about Mike. Mike doesn't like horror movies.
I don't.
I think Mike gets scared. I really do. I think Mike still gets scared by them.
I just don't.
I'm
I don't.
kind of the
I just
same.
don't. I don't care for the just the gore, like the needless gore. Like, okay,
That's not
like
scary, really.
So you have no problem with Rambo blowing away like fucking 200 people in a movie in a very grotesque fashion, but you have problems with horror films?
yeah, but it's just like, oh, like this. It's I don't know. There's something. There's like.
Don't you realize that from a different perspective, Jason Bourne is a horror film? So is Rambo. Jesus Christ, it's Michael Myers. Jesus Christ, it's Jason Bourne. Same
Well,
thing.
like I said, I have no problem. I have no problem with like the Jason. I love Hellraiser.
Hellraiser's great.
But there's something like I don't see. Like I just never really saw Hellraiser as like I know it's horror, but like for some odd reason it never registered me as
Out of
horror.
all of those,
It gets us the demons and like the heaven and hell kind of thing. So it's more religious than it is horror based to me for
it's
some
got
reason.
some religious themes there, yeah, but it doesn't deal too much with heaven, right? It deals
Right.
more with because it's like it's a version of hell. It's hell's got many dimensions, and they come from a certain one. They could literally just be like space aliens, you know,
Right, but I'm saying
extra
like,
dimensional beings.
but just like I really wanted to see Hostel, and then I was like, oh, it's like torture porn. So it's just like, all right, then I'll skip it.
I fucking love it.
So like I don't like.
You gotta watch
Like,
Hostel, man.
Like I walked out of Saw 2 because like I really like Saw,
Saul's great.
and I liked it. And then like I walked out of the first like 15 minutes of Saw 2 because it's like the person I was with. It's like, what are we missing? Like, oh, we're just gonna find out. Like, oh, who's the killer this time? It's like, do you really want to sit through this just to find it out, or you just want to ask somebody in 2 weeks? Like, let's ask somebody in 2 weeks. Like, okay, let's go.
Saw 2's a weak one in the franchise to me, but man,
So
Saw 3's beast, man. I love the shit out of Saw 3. And then Saw 3 and 4 wind up making Saw 2 better. Because
It's
that's
just
one
like-
of those movies that keeps wrapping in on itself over and over and over. I never saw Beyond 4, though. I haven't seen 5. Did they do any more? They did
Chris-
one called
I think it's
Jigsaw.
fucking 6.
Well, what's the one with Chris Tucker that's coming out, or Chris Rock that's coming out?
That's
Oh,
called
yeah,
Spiral.
Yeah, Spiral.
Yeah, but
That's a Saw film, yeah.
that's
It was
a
supposed to.
One called Jigsaw, right?
Yeah, they did one called Jigsaw, I think.
Yeah.
My set only has the first 5. So I don't know how many they've done after. I guess I could look. If only the internet was in front of my face.
If only.
Spiral intrigues me. It's just there's something about just like if I see something or hear something like, oh, this is what it is, like, okay, I'm good. Like I don't care. Like I just don't want to watch that.
Damn, okay. There's more than I thought. So there's the first 5, then there's Saw 6, and then 7 is Saw 3D, and then Jigsaw. And that came out just like 3 years ago. And then Spiral's the new one, and its new date is
9th.
yeah, it'll be the 9th one. And this new date now is May 2021. The crazy thing about Spiral, yeah, they're catching up. It's directed by Darren Lynn Bousman. Darren Lynn Bousman's the guy who directed Saw 2, 3, and 4, and also Repo, the Genetic Opera. But Lee Whannell was also the screenwriter on the first 3. And then when he left, the franchise, I think, kind of went down a little bit. But in Bousman's hands, I'm interested to see. Spiral looks very damn interesting to me. And I think it could be Chris Rock's best role since New Jack City. Or Lethal Weapon 4.
One of my favorite horror anthologies was the Silent Night, Deadly Night. Like, you remember
Christmas
those?
movies, yeah. I know what you're talking about. Didn't they remake that, right?
I never saw the remake.
Or they remade Black Christmas, I know. That was
Yeah.
like a year or two ago.
But like
Black
I
Christmas.
just saw those and they were just big. They were just like, I don't know. There was more. It was less hack and slash. It was more. That one was more a little. Like it had the suspensefulness in it, and like what's happened, like what's going on, and
Well, I prefer supernatural horror over slash. Like I love Halloween. I love that franchise. But like Friday the 13th to me is cool because of its place in the 80s growing up, like Jason, right? And Freddy and Michael. But like out of all those movies, Michael's the one I like the most. And I just really like the way Carpenter directed that first film in particular, and the music, and I'm a fan of the franchise because of it. Freddy's different to me because it's supernatural, and I love Freddy. Hellraiser was great too. And out of all of those 80s horror icons, Freddy, Michael, Jason, and Pinhead. Pinhead's the one that legitimately scared me. But I would much rather watch a good Dracula movie or a werewolf film. You guys know I'm more of a fan of the Universal horror stuff. I like going back to the classics. That's my favorite stuff. But I do enjoy the occasional just gore fest and torture porn movie. I do like the Hostel movies. I do. Maybe I shouldn't, but I do. I like Saw. I like seeing good effects. See, I look at it differently because I'm so ingrained into it. I'm looking at it, and this may sound weird, but when someone gets their head cut off or a trap and saw goes off, and I'm like, what amazing art. Because I'm thinking about, being a Romero fan, I'm looking at the special effects. I'm like, man, that's crazy that they did that. I like that kind of shit. So it's easy for me to detach myself away from that.
I don't know, just a lot of the stuff, like when, like the stuff I was like, okay, the stuff I'm fine, like from the 80s, like I was fine with, and some of the stuff from the 90s, but it's things after that, and what I was dealing with in life, it was just kind of like, this is what I'm seeing every day. I really don't want to see it when I get home and watch TV or watch movies. So it's just like, all right, I'm just done. Like and that's why I like the thriller and the supernatural, like that. I can take myself out of that.
I got you.
So,
Fable says, what's your favorite Freddy movie, Robbie? Mine is Freddy's Dead. My favorite Freddy movie is the original, Nightmare on Elm Street. In fact, out of all of them, and I enjoy every Freddy movie for something, but to me, there is a perfect trilogy to be found in the Freddy films, and it's Nightmare on Elm Street, Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, Dream Warriors, and Wes Craven's New Nightmare. To me, those are the best. I love all three of those. 2 is 4 is meh. 5 is, to me, the worst. But I do like Freddy's Dead. I like Freddy's Dead a lot, especially because of the Power Glove reference. Now you're playing with power. Brendan Mecker is the stoner in the movie, and he's playing Nintendo, and he gets high, and he falls asleep, and they're not supposed to. And so Freddy comes after him, and he puts on the Power Glove with That's why I told you at the expo, Mike, I was like, I kind of want to buy that Power Glove and
just
mod it into the Freddy. They had a Power Glove at the booth, like diagonal from us. All it was the glove.
No, it was like, he showed me what he had for it.
I thought you said it didn't have any of the connections or anything.
Because
it's supposed to have like the shit that goes on the TV, like the 3 cameras or whatever, right? Not cameras, but they're like radar detectors or some shit.
Yeah, he was missing a few of those, but it was like $50 is all it was.
Yeah, I would like to get a Power Glove though and mod it to be the Freddy Power Glove. What do you any of you guys have a favorite Freddy movie?
Dream Warriors.
Dream Warriors is great. Brooks, you say the first one?
Yeah, this is the only one I've seen all the way through. But I really actually like the first Nightmare on Elm Street.
What's the one where the dog pees fire in the junkyard? Is that 4?
I don't know. Who knows?
Like I've only really seen 1 and 3 all the way through. I've seen part of 4. I think there's something in the junk. I don't.
Looking back at Freddy's Power Glove, you don't need a Power Glove to actually make that, as you can tell. But it's still a funny idea. And you see it right there? Did y'all see that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's cool. It's cool looking. I love the Freddy glove from New Nightmare. But whatever.
Yeah, New Nightmare. I've seen part of that movie, but I never watched it all the way through.
I like New Nightmare a lot. It's Wes Craven getting meta.
Yeah, I remember they had Robert Englund coming up on doing a talk show in it and stuff.
Yeah, and the idea is that Freddy was
in it as herself.
Yeah, and Wes Craven's in it. And the idea is that Wes Craven actually had these dreams and that Freddy's real and he's coming through now. And he likes to get meta. He does that with Scream as well. So I think it's pretty cool. And Scream's another franchise I really, really like. And if you take out 3, you got another perfect trilogy there. But I hate 3. Don't like 3.
I think those two I only saw 1 and 2. I Know What You Did Last Summer, or Still Know What You Did Last Summer. Like, I saw those 2. Like, those were just dumb fun.
Yeah, those are okay. Those are okay. They did a whole bunch of shit that came out post Scream, and that's just the way it works. Whenever you have a horror movie that hits, whether it's, you know, something like Halloween, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original stuff from the 40s, the stuff in the 50s, and then Saw, like a lot of things happen at Conjuring for a more recent thing. It just spawns a lot of shit like it.
Was
and I have
Shocker's
Wes Craven.
Was that horror?
Yeah, it counts as horror. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. See,
so does People Under the Stairs. That's a great film.
I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen that.
That's a good one. I don't know if you'd like it, but I think you would. I like that one. I like that a lot. It's a very quintessential 90s kid-oriented horror film. The People Under the Stairs. I used to have a DVD set that had Shocker and The People Under the Stairs. I don't think I have it anymore. I need to get both of those back again.
And so, like, one of the things, like I saw Exorcist, I had no problem with. The Omen, I had no problem with. But like, I was looking at those, like you said, for cinematography and like how they were shot.
The first 2 Omen movies are brilliant, man.
So that's one.
That's another movie Julia Stiles was in. She was in the remake of The Omen.
So like, I never saw Amityville, and I never saw the remake. There's a lot of horror stuff that I haven't seen. That's why, like, that horror podcast was so good that we did so many years ago, because like, I have no idea about these movies, so I'm gonna find out everything I can just by asking you guys questions. So, but there's some of the 70s stuff, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like the scene where the girl gets put on the hook.
See, I'm not the biggest Texas Chainsaw Massacre fan.
I see, like I was fine with that movie, and then like he captures one of the girls and puts her on the hook, and it's just like, okay, like, no.
I think the first one is okay, but
I can watch somebody get their legs cut off with a chainsaw, but for some odd reason, like, that was, to me, that was that was just like, no, I feel that one. Like, nope, not doing it. So it's just it's a little unnerving. So it's just like, I know that scene's there. So
Fable's right. The Evil Dead trilogy. That's a good one.
Yeah, because 4 wasn't really 4. It was just a remake.
Yeah, just kind of like a remake, right? Yeah.
And see, I never saw that one because I heard it was kind of torture porny. So
it's okay. It's definitely trying to be more of a horror film than the original Evil Dead was. Like, the original Evil Dead is a horror film, but it's very cheesy and silly.
Yeah, but I mean,
not super intentionally, like 2 in Army of Darkness, though.
Yeah, that tree scene is. Woo.
Yeah. When we did the Army of Darkness review with Dylan, Strickland watched those movies for the first time. The tree scene got him. Kind of got him. Well, we're getting late to the stream. It's time for show and tell, y'all. Woo! And we are going to be starting show and tell with the magnificent one himself, Brooks. Show and tell, you're up.
Hey, I figured since you kind of outed me, I might as well go ahead and show off this little guy. This is my only My Little Pony. And of course, it's Rainbow Dash, because she's the only one you need,
Your favorite, man.
Yeah, man.
Sorry for outing you as a My Little Pony fan, by the way.
It's all good, man. It would have come out eventually anyway.
All secrets are...
Yeah.
All secrets will be revealed in the light.
But then in comes... Rainbow Dash has fallen! I am your new leader! And then... One shall stand.
Oh, dude.
Will fall.
Is that a... Oh, that's the re-release they just did, right?
Yeah. I got him a little while back. I love Optimus Prime because he's so fun to transform. It's just like... He's so simple. And I picked up a little something for some light reading.
Nice.
You may have heard of this Jack Kirby fellow. He did a lot of stuff apparently, and I've been really enjoying this so far. Some good stuff, man.
Hit the wrong button again.
Ooh.
Fable says Brooks always kills it on the show and tell. I like the tie-in to the My Little Pony Transformers crossover.
Yeah.
So
that's kind of my intention. Like, well, I can kill two birds with one stone. I can go ahead and get the My Little Pony thing, the controversy out of the way, and then like squash it with some Transformer stuff.
I have two little My Little Pony things. They were like mystery minis or something.
Yeah.
Like I have two little ones. I think it's Rainbow Dash and Rarity. I think.
I those until I got a Rainbow Dash and that stuff.
I wish I had a Twilight Sparkle. That's my favorite.
Do you remember the story behind those, right?
Behind what?
Those two little figures?
No. Did I get them from you?
No, we
I don't even remember where I got them.
we got them from work.
Yeah, I remember. Okay.
We came in. We were going through the bag.
You could look.
Yeah, you could look through it. So we were going through there, shot it like we had to go through the whole entire box to find the Rarity. Because we thought we found the Rarity and pulled the Rainbow Dash. And you're like, well, that's fine because I want this one. But I really want that Rarity. And so it's like we're trying to work and go through this and figure it out. And customers are looking at us like, what are you guys doing? Like, it's like, okay, here it is. We found it. So
I just want to know, when am I going to get my cutie mark? Brooks, what did you think about the MLP Transformers book?
Oh, I loved it. I thought it was great. I love seeing, especially like when Starscream is like having them like make a cake for his coronation. He's got the crown from the Transformers movie.
He's like, I finally have made it.
Yeah. And then RC just comes in and beats his ass.
Yeah, that's really fun.
I look forward to seeing more interactions between the different ponies and Transformers. Because there wasn't hardly any Rainbow Dash in there, man.
Not yet. Actually now I don't know if it's Rarity that I have or if it's Pinkie Pie. I think it's Pinkie Pie and Rainbow Dash. I don't know. I'll have to find them one day.
No, you have Rarity because I remember that's the one. That
I'll have to find them and put them back up. They used to be in the set, like in the old days. If you look at the Huntsville Attic 5.0 or whatever, when I was living with John, like probably just like this, like 3 years ago, those videos, some of them, I'm sure you can see the My Little Pony figures in the background. All right, Mike, show and tell, you're up. What you got? God damn it.
You're good. It happens. I got the new Beachhead, the G.I. Joe action. So one of the cool things is it's got the back, and then I've got my original. So this is kind of cool that the detail that they went into it. So you can see he's got the
that's cool.
Like the javelin and the crossbow. So and it's right there. So
the detail's right there though. Look at that. That's nice.
So if you look at
those new G.I. Joes are pretty good, man.
This one it's okay. The legs, it's having a hard time standing, even with the stand. The backpack constantly wants to fall off. So it's one of my favorite characters, but like it's not one of my favorite figures just because I'm having difficulties with it. I don't know if it's because the flak jacket can't let you do the ab crunch. So, but yeah, and one of the things too that is not the gun that he came with. I was trying to get Jelani to do this because he has a lot of issues, and then like with Duke, like that's not Duke's gun. That's actually a Punisher gun, and the Punisher pistol. And then so Roadblock did not come. This beret actually comes with Roadblock, or it comes with Beachhead, but he looks so much better on Roadblock, so I left it. And that's actually that's the Walgreens Punisher machine gun that goes with it. So it's the real life guns look better than the fake ones. So but yeah, and then I forgot to grab. I was gonna show off the new posters, the ones that I got. I got 2 of them framed, but they're out of my reach. But if you look right back here, you can see right back there. So when you go into work tomorrow, you'll see, and right there and up there.
Yeah, you got your wrestling figures.
Yeah, I brought them home. So
cool.
I got them all set up here.
Pop, pop. Now,
That's 2.
the hooded Cobra Commander, that's something that we're getting, right? Or was that an exclusive somewhere?
Well, it's not a hooded Cobra Commander. It's that Hasbro Pulse has got both of them. One's an exclusive. There was supposed to be a San Diego exclusive that got scrapped to another company, and then they dropped the ball.
Okay.
And so it's on Hasbro Pulse.
Oh, what I'm thinking of is the original hooded one. That was the mail away. We got one that's
this one right here. This is that one. Like I just have it for. I had to clean it up and do it, but that's the one.
Nice.
This is the one that you're picking up. So this will be yours. But I just have it because I have mine, but I was working on yours, and when I was setting this up, I just went ahead and set it up here.
Dope. Cool. Well, that's fine because you know me. I got plenty of stuff to get.
Yeah, there's so many more Masters of the Universe stuff to get picked up. So, and I need to talk to you about that tomorrow to help you out.
Okay. That's cool. I got to do some cleaning too because I know I got some things that I wanted to trade in and whatnot. Anyway, what did I bring for show and tell?
What did you bring, Robbie?
I didn't have to. I mean, we've gotten in this bad habit where I feel like, we're always goofing on Strickland. Strickland's like, I can't keep up with it, guys. I can't just keep. And we're like, you don't have to. You just show off something that you
stuff out.
Yeah. But I'm right there in that trap too. I'm like, man, what do I don't have anything for show and tell tonight. What are you fucking talking about, Rob? You literally have a toy store full of shit here. But what was the third thing? I'm trying to remember what my third thing is. Oh, there it is. Cool. Got it. All right. First thing I want to show off is a new pop I got. I got a Pennywise from the original. Like, yeah, the new it's pretty cool, but come on, y'all. That's where it's at. Tim Curry's Pennywise. I love this figure, and it's been in the living room on my Snake Mountain, and it really looks cool on the Snake Mountain. It looks like it fits. So I did want to show that off because I got that a couple weeks ago or something. I do want to show this off because I'm always talking about this on the show, but I just got into the closet the other day and found this. But it's my only CGC book. But there's my CGC Venom Lethal Protector #1 gold cover. My good friend Billy got this for me for my birthday one time, and I love it. It's actually cracked a little bit right there, but it's still intact. I love the back cover. It's a 9.2, and look at the old grading right there. But 9.2, you can find the Venom stuff because it's a cardstock cover and 9.8 all day, but I don't care. I never had the gold, so that's why Billy got this for me, so I would have the gold. And since Horror Fest is right around the corner, I think it's finally time to open this bad boy up. This is something that Mike actually got for me a while ago.
A box?
A box. But what's in it, man?
What's in the box?
Big box. It's another big box.
Pops are on their way out, by the way.
I was joking with Strickland about that today. The Jared Way pop.
Look at that.
They made that a giant size one?
Hell yeah, they did. And Mike got this for me. What was it? For Christmas, I think, Mike?
Yeah, I think so.
Was it last year? I think it was last year because I said I'm going to open it around Halloween time.
No, it was either for your birthday last year or the Christmas before.
Okay.
Because last Christmas they put out the Frankenberry.
Oh, they did a Frankenberry giant. That's right. It was exclusive on that. You had to do that 12 days of Christmas bullshit, though, right?
Yeah, but you had to buy it was like $250. I'm like, I'm not spending $250 for one pop.
So I'm opening this up right now because pretty soon I'm going to have to redo the set for Halloween, and this is going to be a great addition to that.
And I figured, if anything, Count Chocula is your favorite, so you might as well have your favorite in there, you know?
Yeah, Count Chocula is by far my favorite, and I love that the thing inside there is the cereal. That's pretty freaking cool. So let's open this baby up. God, this thing's huge. So I don't have any of these oversized pops. I guess technically I do with that Ultra Zord, but it doesn't really, that one right there. I mean, it's pretty big, but it doesn't look like a traditional pop, right? This thing, look, it's as big as my head. Look at that.
Did anyone ever get that giant-sized Batman one that you had for a while?
Yeah, somebody picked it up a few months ago. I
What
got
was that, like 18, 24 inches or something?
18 inches.
I think it was ridiculous.
I got the Pikachu coming. The 18-inch Pikachu.
Oh, nice.
Oh man, that'd be a cool one to have actually, because it'd be like actual size Pikachu.
Pretty much.
But that's going to look great on the set for Halloween. So that's what I brought.
When
Not
do you
too much, but
when do you plan on changing the setup for Halloween?
At the end of the month, probably like the last week, maybe. Because we're also expanding out. We're expanding a second set. So that's going to take some time. That may be during September. So I think I'm going to get all this changed. I don't know where to put my fucking Power Ranger figures though.
Well,
because I want them to still be displayed, but I got some shelving to get. But right now, that's why we're donating. We're taking. That's what all of our super chats right now are going towards, like lights and shelving and stuff for the new set that's going to be out there. So, and that's going to be our Comics Revisited movie review set when we do it all together. Because everybody here knows what it's like to get in this set with like 3 people. We literally cannot do 4, but over there we'll be able to do 4. So that's really cool.
Well, I was going to say I've got those the vinyl monster cereals. You remember the 2-pack?
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
I have those I can bring over. I
still got my Pezzas. It's the only complete I got, and I got good time to go ahead and pick up those mystery minis that I should have got like a year ago.
But
yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
At least you know where they are.
Yes, sir.
We still got those horror mystery minis too from last year.
You're right. I keep forgetting about those.
So,
but yeah, I'm probably at the end of the idea is that when Horror Fest starts in September, I want the set ready. So, that means it's time for the new cereals to come through too. So, got to start looking for those for the Count Chocula, Frankenberry, and Boo Berry. I wish they bring Fruit Brute and Yummy Mummy back again, like they did that one time. But
you never know.
Thank you, Fable. It is fire, and it's all because of Mike. So thank you, Mike. Mike is my source. Like Mike is the toy guy, and as you can tell, like the toys behind him right now, none of those are like scrub pieces. You know what I'm saying? That's an original Millennium Falcon up there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's just like, yeah, of course. What, you think it's Power of the Force from the 90s?
No, that's
I got one of those to keep my fucking desk level.
I was gonna say I mean, that's all the stuff. Like that's what 83 to you can't really see them. They're under the flowers, but that's all 83 to 87 GI Joes, all complete.
GI Joe's your big thing, I know.
It's like it was Star Wars. Like I was just trying to remember what I had when I was a kid, and as much as I love Star Wars, like GI Joe was more me. So
I've been watching some GI Joes like on YouTube. There's like a channel kind of live stream thing that's just been showing.
Yeah,
Saturday morning cartoons.
Yeah, I've been kind of watching through. I actually starting to like GI Joe a lot more. That show's really fun.
It's fun. It's a big dumb fun. I'm probably about to get and it sucks too because like as much as I love the toys that made it, that like I hate that series with a passion. So because everything is since that came out, the price went up. Like a complete shipwreck, $20. Now I'm gonna have to spend $60. It's just like this. It's ridiculous. So
it is.
So I jumped on the bus a little too late when I was doing Star Wars. I should have been doing G.I. Joe. So, but I picked up a few things that I can trade. So I'm not worried.
Well, there you go. And that brings us to the end of the stream tonight. So everybody, thank you for joining us in our look back on the Bourne franchise. And of course, just this bullshit conversation about some of our favorite movie trilogies, Horror Fest coming up, and show and tell. So thank you guys so much. Brooks, final thoughts?
I have none.
Mike, final thought.
Surprised?
So far this evening, you have only said weird stretch once and pop pop twice.
Weird
I
stretch,
appreciate
dude.
you counting. That is a weird stretch.
This too.
My final thoughts are be nice to each other, hug your loved ones, tell everybody you love them, spend time with people. You never know. So thank you guys so much. Thanks for rocking with us. We're out. Jesus Christ.
It's Jason Bourne.
It's Jason Bourne.